fine, a personal fine on the governor. The clerk has clarified to me that in the case of Wajir, because the governor had written a letter seeking postponement, the House did not impose that fine. The House also recommended that the Governor Wajir appear before this committee within 30 days to outline the measures taken to close the non-conformances highlighted by the Auditor General. That is the reason why we are here. The audit is already done. The Auditor General did their audit, tabled their reports. The committee had 90 days to review the reports and make a recommendation. And today, we are not doing an audit. And that's why we are a bit baffled by the huge volumes of documents in front of us. We can barely see each other because of the huge files that are here. So I think let's go into the report of the Auditor General and look at the issues that were raised and get the position of the county government on how far they have gone in closing them. So Auditor General, we'll start with the report on the county executive. Time allowing, we'll go to the report on the receiver of revenue. You may tell us what your opinion was on the financial statements of the executive.
Thank you, Chair. For the auditor's report for the Wajir County Executive for the financial year 2024-2025, the Auditor General issued a qualified opinion. Thank you, Chair.
Can we go to the basis of that opinion?
Thank you, Chair. Based for qualified opinion, the unsupported use of goods and services.
You may read your finding because it is what you reported that we adopted.
Yes.
Yeah, so read it, then we ask the governor to outline the measures taken to mitigate.
The statement of performance reflects use of goods and services expenditure of Kenya shillings 2,549,563,869 as disclosed in Note 8 to the following statements. Included in the expenditure are payments of Kenya shillings 551,954,862 for specialized materials and services, out of which an amount of Kenya shillings 172,953,529 relates to expenditure on pharmaceutical drugs, non-pharmaceuticals, dressings and lab reagents from Kenya Medical Supplies Authority, KEMSA. However, the expenditure was not supported by way of requisitions from the respective health facilities, inspection and acceptance committee reports, and source ledgers cards for the drugs supplied to the facilities. In the circumstances, the accuracy and completeness of expenditure on pharmaceuticals, drugs, non-pharmaceuticals, dressing and lab reagents of Kenya shillings 172,953,529 could not be confirmed. Thank you, Chair.
Governor, as is a procedure, you'll read out your response and then senators will ask questions, if any.
Chairman, during the financial year under review, the county executive procured medical supplies and pharmaceuticals from the Kenya Medical Supplies Authority, KEMSA, for distribution to various county facilities, including Wajir County Referral Hospitals, sub-county hospitals, health centers, dispensaries. KEMSA was responsible for the last mile delivery of the medical commodities in accordance with the approved order levels of each facility. All health facilities generate their commodity requisitions through the approved KEMSA Logistics Management Information Systems, ELMIS, an electronic ordering platform customized according to the level of care, including dispensaries, health centers, level 4 and level 5 hospitals. The facilities generated requests are reviewed and verified by the respective sub-county health products and technologies HPT officers before being submitted to the county pharmacists. The County Health Products and Technologies Department subsequently reviews, consolidates, and uploads the verified orders to the KEMSA ELMIS portal. In addition, the County Pharmacy Department consolidates all facility orders and prepares a single requisition letter to KEMSA, thereby ensuring effective coordination accountability and traceability of all medical supplies, all medical commodities supplied to county health facilities. Upon consolidation of the orders, the county pharmacist generates a pro forma invoice. Based on this invoice, a local purchase order LPO is issued to KEMSA to facilitate order processing, picking and delivery. Further, stores records and supporting documentations including delivery notes, invoices, payment vouchers, S13 forms, stores ledger cards and S11 issue notes were maintained at the respective health facilities and have been availed for audit review. These records provide evidence of the receipt, custody, distribution and issuance of medical supplies to the intended facilities, thereby promoting transparency, accountability and effective inventory management. The county executive has provided an annexed at Annex 1.0 comprising the following supporting documents: delivery notes, S13 forms, S11 issue notes, store ledger cards, distribution lists, and inspection and acceptance reports and certificates. Evidence or photo evidence of training of the facility in charge as well. The attached documentation, the attached documents substantiate the receipt, storage, distribution, and utilization of the medical supplies delivered by KEMSA to the respective county health facilities. Steps taken: the management has directed the relevant departments to strengthen documentation, record keeping and inventory management controls to ensure audit queries do not occur in subsequent financial years. The management has designated stores officers to ensure compliance with supplies, requisitions and receipts. The management has capacity built the facility in charges. Thank you.
Which is Annex 1 referred to? Is it a single document?
Just say what it is.
This one? This is Annex 1. Auditor General, have you gone through Annex 1 and what is your opinion or comment on it?
Thank you, Chair. We have gone through Annex 1, and while we were going through Annex 1, we concentrated on the issues which were listed in our audit report, which included requisition from respective health facilities. This requisition from respective health facilities, through the response, we were able to be made understand that the requisitions is done through a system, and therefore the requisitions now which was subjected for our verification was now a consolidated requisition at the county pharmacist. Then we had also asked for the inspection and acceptance. We verified the inspection and acceptance for those 2 deliveries because there were 2 batches. And then there was also the issue of stores ledger accounts. For the store ledger accounts, there are 67 health facilities in Wajir County, and on average, these store ledger accounts document various items from KEMSA, which on average are like that 62. So what was given to us during verification was a sample of original ledger accounts, and we looked at that sample to see how the items were received at facilities and how they were issued, and that's the issue which we addressed here in our audit report. Thank you.
So in summary?
In summary, we can see that this issue is partially addressed. We are only left with the issue now of the confirmation of what they are doing, so that this issue cannot continue or recur in our audit.
I want us to be very, direct and deal with this thing quickly. 172 million worth of pharmaceutical drugs, non-pharmaceuticals, etc., were procured from KEMSA. So that's the order initiation. And the county has explained the process. It is automated. Our concern is, actually the governor, you have captured it in your response. The last paragraph on page 2, just before the county executive has provided Annex 1, our concern is to get evidence of the receipt, custody, distribution, and issuance of medical supplies to the intended facilities. That is a concern. I don't think there is much scope for monkey business when ordering from KEMSA. But we have seen situations where the supplies come from KEMSA and they're distributed to facilities which are owned by private persons rather than public facilities. So that is our concern that we need to address ourselves to. The 172 million worth of pharmaceuticals and non-pharmaceuticals, where is the evidence that they were distributed to 10, 20 or 12 public facilities, and in that distribution, does it account for the 172? I think that's what we need to focus on. Is it in Annex 1? Sure. Take us to that, because if we clear our minds that the drugs were taken to the respective hospitals, then we don't have to waste time on the KEMSA order and system processes.
Chair, first of all, I'd like to correct the auditor that it's not 67, it's 167 facilities.
167 facilities?
Yes. The ones that are on the KEMSA supply are registered facilities 174, but the ones that had gotten into the KEMSA system by that time, because we keep building new facilities, 167, not 67. Number two, this KEMSA system is, the way it's designed is foolproof. In that, when you make your requisition and you build that requisition from the facility, every facility actual requisitions online. And the system itself, at the point of the county pharmacist, tells you what KEMSA has. It also gives you what is called a non-supply list, which is what they don't have. So for the things that they have is what we raise a pro forma, and there is no intervention between the KEMSA stores and the facility. It's last mile delivery. It goes directly to the facility. And the KEMSA person who delivers, the truck driver or whoever is delivering, goes with delivery notes which have to be signed in triplicate. One delivery note stays at the facility. One is sent to the county pharmacists, which then is passed on to county treasury through the chief officer for payment. And the last one goes back to KEMSA. And in each of the facilities, we also have what is called state stock ledgers, which are the bin cards for every single product, showing what has come in and what has, and all these other supporting documentations as well. So what we've done is to then print that entire file of all those, what are they called, and bin cards and other receiving and issuing documents, and that's why the bundle is that big.
Okay, but
through the chair, I mean,
Senator,
yes, if the system is that organized, Governor, what I'm wondering, the query here says that expenditure was not supported by way of requisitions from the respective health facilities. There was no inspection and acceptance committee reports. There was no ledger card. So if the system is seamless the way you are indicating, why weren't the documents availed to the auditor? Because the auditor, I've heard him say that this issue was only partially addressed.
Governor?
Yeah. Chair, before
let's take from Senator Dula.
Response, my question goes to the auditor. If I heard you very well, you have said the query has partially been responded to. So maybe it's good if you can clarify for us to be able to understand the process, or rather the response. Tell us what has partially been addressed and what is outstanding, so that we address what is outstanding and also get a way forward on it.
Okay, I think let's get the governor's answer to Senator Morgan's question, then we come back to the auditor.
You know, Senator, the opinion belongs to the auditor. So for me, all I can do is to supply what he says has not been supplied. But that's how our system works. And it works uniformly for everyone. Yeah. So it's I think that could
So
be
we
done
trust.
by the auditor.
So documents were given.
Governor, that cannot be the auditor's question. This is a question raised by the auditor on operations of your entity.
Yes.
It is a matter that was raised in the draft certificate, in the exit meetings, which I want to believe happened. If they are not provided at the time of audit, it cannot be the responsibility of the auditor. We must be fair to the institutions that we work with.
Chair,
I think there has to be another explanation for why it was not provided, but that explanation cannot come from the auditor. Senator Abdullahi?
yeah, Chair, maybe the position of the auditor on my query can clarify certain things so that we can.
Thank you, Chair. My concern, my outstanding concern here is on the steps taken so that this issue cannot recur.
Sorry, what I have said, you said the query has been partially addressed.
Yes.
And it's not fully addressed to your satisfaction. What is outstanding that has not been provided to satisfy you as far as this query is concerned?
And who is this person who did not give you documents? Who is this person who did not supply you with a document? Because you know what the law says.
Thank you, Chair. As far as the audit issue is concerned,
Can you put the mic closer to yourself?
as far as the audit issue is concerned, the 3 sets of documents which we expected to be given during the time of the audit have been given after the time of the audit.
Sorry?
After.
We are concerned with what you have put on ink and paper. You say they were not supported when you did the audit.
Yes.
My question is, who is this officer responsible who did not supply you with the documents? Because we are dealing with an audit report that is now before us that says the expenditure was not supported by way of documentation.
The responsibility of submission of these documents, particularly this relating to procurement, is the responsibility of the accounting officer, medical, the Department of Health Services.
Now, let's do this. Let's, because we must deal with this matter. Governor, what are your top 4 facilities? If you can mention them. It does not need to be by revenue, but just mention some 4 randomly.
The top 4 facilities would of necessity be the sub-county hospital. So we have the Wajir County Referral Hospital. We have Habaswain Level 4 Hospital. We have Griftu Level 4 Hospital. We have Eldas Level 4, Butte Level 4 Hospital.
So we can, if you take Aldas, you said Aldas Level 4.
Yeah, for instance.
Can we use that as a test to confirm that Aldas Level 4 received, to provide, to confirm that there was evidence of receipt, custody, distribution, and issuance of medical supplies to Aldas Level 4 Hospital? I cannot see that far. I'm not that young. No. You can't cross there. Just describe what you are flashing. I believe it should be in our files.
Yes, Chair, it is in the annex, in Annex 1, yes. So we have categorized.
Annex 1, on which page?
Chair, in the first annex, we have the requisition letter. Then appointment letters, inspection appointment committee.
Where are you reading?
Look at
And I
that.
think next time make sure that you paginate your document so that it's easier to follow.
Take this color.
The green that says requisition letter.
Requisition.
Yeah.
Then you go next. Appointment letter for inspection and acceptance committee.
For Hansard purposes, just to introduce yourself.
My name is Wajir Abdullahi Hassan, Director Supply Chain.
Okay.
So next is appointment letter for inspection and acceptance committee.
Is that specific to Aldas?
The appointment, yes. You know we have 6 sub-counties in Wajir.
No, we are just saying we want to test one facility to confirm that the requisition was done and the order was fulfilled, and if that evidence is there, we can just take one sample.
Chair, if you look at the appointment letter for Inspection Acceptance Committee, the first letter is for elders, Wajir West and Wajir North Sub-County Hospitals. That is the appointment.
Okay.
Then next is inspection and acceptance for the same. It's there. The inspection committee signed the certificate for elders, Wajir West and Wajir North Sub-County. Then you go to stock control cards. That is the bin cards, which act as a control point for us. Then you move ahead. There is red, is this pinkish or this elders Sub-County now. Move from the stock control cards all the way to the red. Yes, and last the store ledgers. The store ledgers shows how goods were received in the stores.
Just a minute. On the inspection and acceptance committee report,
Yes.
you've got inspection and acceptance certificate.
Yes, for three elders, Wajir West and Wajir North, and Wajir East.
What's a contract delivery due date?
For the inspections?
On that inspection and acceptance certificate.
Contract due date is 3rd June 2024.
Is that within the period under review?
Yes. The file
2024-2025. When does it start? On 1st of July 2024. Yes. This is a contract of the prior financial year.
Yes, but it was paid in that financial year, the auditing.
Okay.
Yes.
So you got 87 million on one inspection and acceptance certificate, 85 million in the next one.
And totaling to 172 in the audit query.
So auditor, the 172 related to this specific facility, or it was the 167 facilities across Wajir?
Thank you, Chair. The 172 related to consolidated order for various facilities, which could be 167 facilities within Wajir.
So that gentleman is explaining one facility, 87 plus 85. Is it then a fact that that fully accounts for the 172?
Yes, Chair.
So in your view, it was only one facility?
No, this is not one facility. This is for Wajir County.
In your inspection and acceptance certificate, you've got two.
Yes, Chair.
One value of supply is 87, the other one is 85. Is that the requisition from KEMSA?
Chair, the 85 million is for elders, Wajir West and Wajir North.
That's the requisition coming from KEMSA?
Yes.
Which we don't have a problem with, because I think, as the governor has explained, it's fairly foolproof. Now, the evidence of distribution.
It's there, Chair.
Where is it?
County.
Where is it?
For sub-county, for example, Allah sub-county.
Yeah, just take us there.
Red, they look at this reddish, Allah sub-county.
Where would it be on your, because you've got a lot of pages, how do we get there?
Immediately, you move from stock control cards, that is the bin cards, then the next you go to, we have now divided them into sub-counties, Elders, we started with Elders.
Okay, so explain to us.
Chair, in Allah sub-county, we have annexed ledgers and counter received vouchers S13.
Officer, you can explain that?
You can explain the first document, which is something expensive.
What do you say?
The first document, you have to understand the first one.
What other dispensary is in Allah sub-county.
All the agents,
Yes.
So, yeah, the first column there is the date, yeah? Okay. So if you link that with the inspection, so the inspection happened on 3rd of June. So you are saying
For Ade, it happened 5th. The ESTA team, it is 5th.
so what's that there, 100 shillings?
Yeah?
In that column, there is 100 shillings there.
This is per drug, the price cost for per drug.
So what was being delivered?
There's unit cost, there's quantity, and there's value.
And the drug, what's the drug? What's the drug? I just want to understand that form.
Officer?
Just see at the top of the form, it's indicated there. Adrenaline, it's at the top of the form.
Adrenaline.
Adrenaline 1 mg stroke ml.
Yes.
So the quantity is what? Have you understood?
The quantity is, they are 10, they are written 10 in number.
10.
In number. The drug is adrenaline 1 mg ml.
Okay, officer, going down to total receipts, less total issues, that stock control part, it's all blank. Should it be blank? The bottom of that particular the one Senator Morgan is referring to? I mean, just tell us what is the authenticity of what you have given us? The authenticity would mean signed by somebody, owned by somebody.
Yes.
Because this can be filled under tree.
No, Chair.
No, just show me how you authenticate this for us to take it as evidence.
First and foremost, it has a serial number. Look at the serial number. We're at the dispensary.
I don't think serial number authenticates. Authentication means the person making the entry takes responsibility by signing.
Yes.
Where is the signature so that we know who is the person responsible here?
It's called Arafat.
Where is that?
Arafat.
Where is that indicated?
Look at the receiving officer. They say the signature.
Where?
Put the S13. Look at the S13.
No.
Don't take us to S13 because you have separated them, isn't it?
Yes.
That's why you've got your S13 is a counter receipt voucher.
Yes.
Yeah, so before we go to the counter receipt voucher, we are on the ledgers.
Ledgers,
How
yes.
do you authenticate the ledgers? Because none of it is signed. What we have are just entries, handwritten entries.
Chair, ledgers are not signed.
Sorry?
Ledgers are not signed.
So how do you authenticate? How do you authenticate them?
Authenticate this because every facility has one attached ledger book with a serial number.
So you may ask, was this the same person filling all this?
No, it's not the same person. It's not the same person.
Because I thought it's one person because the handwriting looks like it's just one person.
Okay, then maybe you need to relate it to the S13. Maybe it will help us understand. What we are trying to dispel is any notion that maybe some team would sit under a tree and fill forms. So your responsibility is to confirm that that is not what happened.
Chair, I'm under oath and I can confirm.
You're not under oath, it's a governor under oath. Your confirmation is by the documents here. Just take us to the document that gives us that assurance. As I said, we are not going to look at the 167 facilities. We'll just pick one and run a test on it.
For this, for the Chair, if you look at the receiving officer, that's a name with the person who received, signature, designation, and date.
That is on the S13.
S13, yes.
So all the S13s you have tendered there for elders, what do they total to? How much of the 172 million was received by elders?
Of elders, the total elders received is 15,300,000.
Where is that in your records?
In the summary.
Where is the summary?
They did not request yet, Chair.
You knew you were coming here to provide evidence that 172 million worth of pharmaceuticals was distributed to facilities properly. That's the issue. We are not coming to question whether the procurement from KEMSA was proper. That's not the issue. And I mean, if you are to focus on that, would be pedantic. Our concern is that the 172 million was received in public hospitals and was not diverted to private hospitals. That's what we are trying to establish. And I think the governor must have understood that well, because in his written response, he has said that there are records that provide evidence of receipt, custody, distribution, and issuance of medical supplies to the intended facilities. So, just speaking elders, you are saying that in total it was 15 million,
yes.
And we are asking where is that evidence in the file?
Chair, I was relying with the audit query, which lump sumly put 172 million. Then in that 172 million, we had two vouchers, which is in inspection, which one is 89 and the other one is 85. So I was trying to support in line with the query.
We don't have a big problem with the distribution and the arrangement with KEMSA.
Yes.
Our problem is, did the facilities receive the pharmaceuticals? And the pharmaceuticals they received, do they tie to the 172 million that came from KEMSA? It's as simple as that.
Yes.
So give us that evidence, give us that assurance, and we can move on.
Chair, the evidence is in front of you. We have the ledgers, we have the S13, we have the appointment letter for the inspection, we have the requisition, and the inspection certificate signed by the appointed committee members.
Auditor General, because I said when we started that we are not doing the audit today.
Yes.
The audit ended when the OAG brought the report on 31st of December. Can you give us an assurance that the 167 facilities in Wajir received medication pharmaceuticals, and the pharmaceuticals they received, the total ties to the 172 that came from KEMSA? Are you able to give that assurance, or do we ask the county to provide that information?
Chair, as the auditors, we can only give what is called reasonable assurance, but not absolute assurance. So maybe I'll pass the ball to the governor. Thank you, Chair.
Governor?
And Chair, I've explained the process of consolidating requisitioning. And once the requisitions are consolidated, an LSO is given for what is required of KEMSA in totality, but with a breakdown of how much should go directly to every facility. So the packaging takes that into account. And that's why it's a last mile delivery. Once that reaches there, the KEMSA person also, because has to demand for payment, has to ensure that the facility in charge signs a delivery note. It is not expected, it's not rationally expected, and I must say this, that the bin cards or the store ledgers for every facility, because these are not things you carry away, they are per product and they are kept at the facility, will be kept at the headquarters. They are at the facility. So it's up to the auditor to say, I need proof of this delivery for this product, for this facility. Then we provide the delivery note from the facility so requested, because you're talking about 167 facilities that have received products directly. And if they want to know at what stage of consumption there is, then we give copies of the bin cards. So when we saw that comment, what my people did is now they asked the store people, the facility in charges in every facility, to send the bean cards of every single facility. So I think unless the auditor says I need this particular thing in this particular form, this is our response. I don't know how else to explain.
It is not what the auditor wants, it is what the Senate wants. What the Senate requires is clear evidence that 172 million worth of pharmaceuticals and non-pharmaceuticals that were procured from KEMSA reached the intended facilities. That's all. That's our concern. Sitting here, we have seen cases where in a very foolproof exercise, counties procure, counties get medication, but that medication goes to private hospitals. That is the suspicion that we must allay. And so what you must do, as your officer says, that there is no summation of deliveries to the respective facilities, you must provide a summation that accounts for that 172 that will then be supported by the ledgers and the S13s that have been attached here. Sitting as a Senate, that's the most we can do. We cannot go through every single S13 or every single ledger. So provide a summation of the deliveries out of the 172, the facilities that were taken to, and how much each facility received. And then we'll ask the Auditor General to just run a test to confirm, and we can close this matter. Governor, I hope that is clear. It would be
Yes, Chair. I think what I'll ask the people to do, because delivery notes was not one of the things that was asked for by the auditor, why not just get every single signed off delivery note that added up to those two LSOs and provide it to the auditor?
Yeah, provide to the Senate through the auditor. Please, remember it is the Senate asking, it is not the
Obliged.
So I think that should be a very straightforward exercise where you have a schedule, if it's 167 facilities or 50 facilities, indicating the quantities and amounts received, and then they can be supported by the ledgers and the S13s. Is that clear? And that's doable. Auditor General?
That's okay, Chairman. We'll comply with the directive. Thank you.
Let me ask Senator Cherargei to go on record.
Cherargei Kiprotich is my name, Senator of the Republic of Kenya, representing the great people of Nandi. And Chair, my apologies, I was in parliamentary board meeting. Mine is just, we have waited for this meeting for very long, having the governor refused to appear on several occasions. Mine is, Governor, you are contradicting yourself. If you read your own response, page number 3, steps taken. I thought these are already steps that you have taken. Because you have said the management has directed relevant department to strengthen issue of record keeping, document inventory, management controls. So I thought the one you are saying has already been done. So which is the position? Are you running away from your written submissions that you are going to undertake in future, or it has been done? That is page number 3 of your management responses, where you have put A, then the management and stores officers, because I'm seeing the chair you are directing that the OG retake. I thought they have already taken, because it is written steps taken. So I thought they have already done. They are giving feedback on the matter.
Okay, I think you give you an opportunity to go on record, but you could benefit also from some of the conversations you have had prior to your arrival. I think we have gone through all those issues of documentation, the gaps, the complexities, but what we are concerned about now is accounting for 172 million and making sure that that 172 million went to public hospitals rather than private hospitals, or it was actual delivery rather than phantom deliveries. So I think let's leave it at that, Honorable Senator. When we are reviewing the responses, we'll also be able to consider whether the steps taken will close the gaps in future. Senator Melegu?
Chair, I wanted to ask whether the county government included all the S13 forms for every facility, because when I sample at that sub-county hospital, there are about 4 S13 forms, and when you do the total of the amount of medicine they received, it's actually less than 1 million shillings. So I don't know if this is a sample of S13 for Eldar sub-county, or it is all S13 forms for Elders Sub-County Hospital.
Does Annex 1 have everything, or it's a sample?
It's a sample.
Governor?
Chair, taking the questions one by one.
I think respond to Senator Legos. I've addressed the introductory remarks by Senator Chirage, so don't go there. The question is just direct. Is Annex 1 a sample, or it's the entire universe?
It's a sample.
Okay, so let's go by Pareto's principle, where they say 20% of facilities generally contribute to 80% of the problems. So in that summation that we have already agreed will have to be done, of course, in the summation, we'll have to account for the entire 172, but the auditors can pick samples, maybe from the top 4 or 5 facilities, and then that can put our mind at rest.
Okay.
Okay.
And Chair, it's not unusual for some facilities not to ask for much, depending on how much they're already holding. So then, when we are making requisitioning, we ask them what they need, what has run out of stock. So, and depending on the utilization in the intervening period, some facilities will ask for more than others. That's why we have one consolidated requisition to KEMSA. But we ensure KEMSA in its packaging just gives every facility what they requested and takes them directly to the facility.
Okay, honorable members, we have given those directions on that matter.
Governor, I don't know whether you are the ones who designed this document, receipt and issues. Are you the ones who designed? Because you are the ones.
Standard documents from government printers here.
Oh, it's a standard document.
Okay, I think going forward, because these processes, as you said, there's an automated process where you've got the KEMSA LMIS. The question would be, at what point would we be able to automate it from end to end, so that even at the facilities, instead of having these pieces of paper that generate audit queries, everything can be in the system. It might not be the question for Wajir, it could be a question that we raise with KEMSA, so that it can apply to all the 47 counties. But I want us to move on to the next matter, because we've already given directions on this.
I've seen the ledgers that are here, but it was filled by one person, but they are not giving us the totals. If these ledgers, what was the essence, without specification, because it has just been written and they have attached with forger. So does it mean the governor will give further documentation, or these are the ones that we'll rely on?
I think I had the same problem, and I pressed the governor on the authenticity of those ledgers, and they are explaining that the ledgers are not signed, but they must be read alongside the S13s. So, Auditor General, once we have the summation, please do that. I had a similar concern as Senator Chirage, so it's a valid observation, but it's already been addressed. Let's make some progress. Go to now issue number 2, expenditure relating to Wajir Municipality.
Thank you, Chair. During the year under review, the county executive made payments amount to Kenyan shillings 189,460,538 for salaries, goods, works and services related to Wajir Municipality. The municipality has separate management and structure, hence should carry its operations separately and independently from the county executive to facilitate accountability of its own funds. Management did not provide justifiable reasons for the failure to transfer the funds to the municipality to execute its operations. In the circumstances, the accuracy and regularity of expenditure amount to Kenyan shillings 189,460,538 incurred on behalf of the municipality could not be confirmed. Thank you, Chair.
Governor, you may respond.
Mr. Chairman, Wajir Municipality is an independent county entity established and governed in accordance with the applicable legal framework, with its own municipal board and management team responsible for its day-to-day operations. The county executive is progressively facilitating transfer of operational autonomy to the municipality to ensure full compliance with the governing legal and institutional requirements. To support the transition towards full administrative and financial independence, the county executive is currently engaging with the State Department for Public Service and Human Capital for the establishment of a separate integrated payroll and personnel database for Wajir municipality. Upon approval and operationalization of the IPPD system, the municipality will be able to independently manage its payroll and personnel functions. In the subsequent financial year, not the one under review, but the one 2025-2026, the county executive transferred the approved budget allocations relating to the use of goods and services and development expenditure to Wajir municipality to facilitate the implementation of its mandate and operational activities. However, it's only the compensation to employees that continues to be processed and paid by the county executive on behalf of the municipality, pending the completion of the payroll transition process, which is pending the separation of the IPPD data. Further, management has initiated engagement with the State Department for Public Service and Human Capital Development to facilitate the establishment of a separate IPPD for the municipality and ensure full autonomy in its payroll administration. The county executive has attached Annex 2, being the correspondence addressed to the State Department for Public Service and Human Capital Development regarding the establishment of a separate IPPD system for Wajir municipality. Management remains committed to finalizing the transition process and ensuring that similar audit queries do not recur in the future financial years. Thank you.
Just Appendix 2. Annex 2, you refer to Annex 2 as the correspondences. Now, first of all, because these files are crowding us, this 2A was with relation to the first query.
Go to 1.
No, just I want to clear these tables so we know what should be on the table.
2A and B.
This 2A was with respect to the 172.
No. 172 is Annex 1.
So this Annex 2A relates to this matter of the municipality.
So item number 3.
Item number 3 on unsupported transfers to health facilities. You see, Governor, you have avoided this expenditure. This is very heavy expenditure on matters that could have been addressed at the county level. So I hope that in the next audit, we'll not be coming with truckloads of documents to the Senate. So which one is Annex 2 out of this? Is it a smaller document?
Let's go to Annex 1, booklet 1, number 2, the last page, number 2.
The last one, it's just a one-pager.
Just one letter, yes, to the DPSM.
Okay, in my understanding of the governor's response, he generally agrees with the observation of the Auditor General and talks of measures taken. Governor, did I get you right that you are not disputing the observation?
Chair, we are not disputing the observation, and in fact, subsequent to that fiscal year under review 2024-2025, for fiscal year 2025-2026, we have given them autonomy over their expenditure, recurrent expenditure, and their development expenditure, save for payroll, which we continue to pay until the separation of data is done, because the payroll data is centrally controlled at the State Department, until the State Department then creates a separate database which lifts the employees of the municipality from our consolidated payroll to a separate payroll, and then we'll give them their money for payroll as well, and they pay. But as of now, as we speak today, they run their development budget and they run all their operational recurrent expenditure except IPPD, which is consolidated together with the county, and we have initiated correspondence to split. Thank you.
Do they generate their own financial statements, or did they generate financial statements in that year?
They generate their own financial statements, and what we do for them is regarded as a donation in grant, and we appear before CPIC for county, for municipality audits.
So that, you see, the problem is that the 199 has been charged on the executive rather than on the municipality, isn't it? That's the issue here. Ideally, it should have been charged on the municipality.
Yes, but for the municipality, when they show their financial statements, they will show both an income of 199 being a grant for the payroll and an expenditure of the same.
So, Auditor General, you have said in the circumstances the accuracy and regularity of the expenditure incurred on behalf of the municipality could not be confirmed. In terms of regularity, the county has explained the circumstances. What about the accuracy? What assurance do you give us that the 199 million was used prudently?
The 199 million, which relates to, or during that time, which related to payment of salaries, was audited from the county executive side. And the same amount, where we have the breakdown of goods and services, was still audited from the county executive side. So what appears in the municipality financial statement is just a disclosure of collaboration.
Speak English, Auditor. In my mind, you need to give me the assurance that the 199 that was spent on the executive side for municipal goods, services and salaries, there is no double charge on the other side.
We can give that assurance, Chair.
You have that assurance, or you need to check?
We have that assurance, because if we had that issue of double charge, you would have raised it.
Okay, fine. So we shall deal with the issues of regularity and keep in view the steps that the county has highlighted that they are taking, and ensure that this matter, maybe save for the salaries, can be resolved or addressed in the subsequent financial year. Let me allow Senator Mofaya and Senator Sifuna to go on record.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Senator Mwenda Gataya Mofaya Tarakanidi, member of this committee.
Thank you, Chair and Governor. Karibu to Nairobi. My name is Edwin Sifuna, Senator Nairobi. I'm still a member of this committee. Chair, apologies, I've come late. The Governor of Nairobi was before the Finance Committee. I have had a terrible experience there and gained a new appreciation for you and how we conduct ourselves at this committee. Thank you.
You are rightfully here as a member of the Senate and as a member of this committee, so you do not need to re-emphasize your presence. But Karibu.
You forgot that he is proud of you as SG for being the audio member and chairing the committee very well. Chair, maybe just a follow-up on the, I've seen annex on the one on the letter written by the governor or to request for IPPD, although I know it changed. I've seen that number 7 on employment costs. So Governor, does it mean under the one we are requesting in municipality, does it mean all through the chair, all employees are in permanent and pensionable under Wajir municipality? Because I can see you are paying basic wages of temporary employees of 68 million, one was 6,027. So what is the status of the employees? Because how many are they you are requesting? You have not indicated in your attachment, Chair, and whether all of them are on PMP or how many are temporary, because I know mostly municipalities sometimes use temporary employees or employees that are on contract. So can he distinguish, because he has just written a general letter to the State Department for Public Service and Human Capital Development. So can he clear that, because I've seen in note number 7.
Governor, could you provide that clarity?
Chair, what we responded to was the question was asked by the auditor, so that may require supplementary information to be sought. But why we wrote to IPPD is because the information we need them to separate is what's on IPPD. What's on council or manual is in-house.
Senator Chirage?
Don't move in-house.
It's not with them. It's with us.
Order, Governor.
Governor, I've just asked a very simple question.
Senator Cherargei.
A simple answer.
Senator Cherargei.
Governor is becoming organ.
Governor, I am the chair of this meeting.
Yes.
And please, let's process all the responses and all the communication through the chair. So, Senator
That's my clarity, and the governor should stop gaslighting some of us. I'm not in the mood today. Chair, I've asked a very simple question through the chair. You have written a letter to request IPPD numbers for permanent. I'm just asking a simple question. In this municipality, how many employees are in PNP and how many are either temporary or casual? Because in note number 7, out of 4.1 billion that you are spending on your employees, 16.1 million is basic wages for temporary employees. That's the clarity I needed through the chair.
Okay, Governor, I think let's go to the issues that are mathematical and accounting.
Chair, let me start with why we wrote the letter to IPPD, because for staff that are permanent and pensionable, they are on the IPPD database, and we're asking for a separation of that database. As to how many are casual and how many are permanent, that's detail which we didn't come with because it's not part of the query. You can supply that. Thank you.
Okay, honorable members, I think we have bigger problems in the report. Let's make progress. We will keep this in view and confirm that those steps highlighted have been implemented in the 24-25 report. The next one again relates to health facilities and supported transfers to health facilities. Auditor General.
Thank you, Chair. The settlement of health performance reflects transfers to other government entities of Kenya shillings 1,749,535,474 as disclosed in note 9 to the financial statements. The expenditure includes current grants to government agencies and other levels of government, amount of Kenya shillings 301,146,792, out of which an amount of Kenya shillings 12,706,500 was transferred to health facilities including dispensaries and health centers, which were not clustered as level 4 hospitals. However, expenditure returns, including cash books, ledgers, payment vouchers, and procurement documents from the health facilities in support of the transfers were not ready for audit.
Okay, now when we did our brief earlier, Auditor General, you indicated that the concern that you had raised there has been addressed. Is that the position?
Yes, that is our position, Chair.
And we asked whether you can provide visibility on the 12 million and give us an assurance that this facility level 1 got 2 million, this one got 3 million. You have that information?
We have that information. We are able to get it from our system. We have that.
So then, Governor, I'm trying to be quite efficient because by 2:30 we are going to the chamber. We take it that this 2A and 2B is evidence to support the 12 million?
Yes, sir.
And then 3 as well? Because
No, it's only 2A, 2B, and cash flow.
But the governor's response refers to Annex 3. I could make him read it, but the auditor says that the matter has been since supported. So just tell us, are we relying on 2A, 2B, or on 3?
Chair, 2A is written, the question number is number 3, and supported transfer to health facilities.
Yeah, Chair, Annex 3 is in booklet 2A.
No, Governor, I'm trying to help you. You see, if I tell you to read this, it will take us 5 minutes. I just want us to have on record the relevant annexure that we shall refer to when making our recommendation. So is it Annex 3 or Annex 2? Annex 2A?
It's Annex 3, but it's in that booklet, because the booklet says 2A. It's inside that booklet 2A. That's how I understand it. Annex 3 is actually in.
But we are in 2A, we are not looking at where is Annex 3?
It says there, what's in there is unsupported transfers to health facilities. That's the code it's addressing.
And then down there?
The booklet is 2A. This booklet is labeled 2A, but the annexure that's in there is 3.
Where is that? you are causing unnecessary confusion. It would have been easy to amend your response to refer to Annex 2A and 2B. Isn't it? Because 2A and 2B supports the 12 million.
Because we have 2A, but there's no 3. Annex 3 refers.
Annex 3 refers to voided payments, etc., etc. Let's just get, because I want to get these files off the table.
Okay, so it's in 2A.
2A and 2B.
2B, yeah.
Yeah, so all these 4 reams of paper you came with to Nairobi was completely unnecessary and very wasteful, because they explained 12 million, which ought to have been done at the county. So, Governor, you must rein in on your people, because I do not think that it is a very good use of the time of the Senate to go through 150 pages to justify an expenditure of 12 million.
Chair, I'm actually struggling to see you and to catch your eye whenever I want to say something.
Yeah,
because it appears they decided to bury us in documentation, and they are hoping that we will not go through those annexures. We have had similar experiences before, and another thing they have done is that these documents are not paginated. So if I wanted to, for instance, interrogate the county governor on what this document here is, Gabo Shop cash sale, I have no way of being able to reference so that we are able to interrogate these documents. Chair, it is always a red flag when you see these documents here. It was also pointed to gaps in the audit process itself, that maybe the entity does not sit down with the Auditor General to be able to supply this documentation during the time of audit, so that the audit is basically being carried out here. Yeah? So it is quite difficult to follow, Chair, but I want at least you take 1 or 2 minutes to look at those documents in those 2 annexures.
Chair, in addition to documentation, I think it is an offense not to give documents under Public Audit Act when it is needed by the AG, and I know we'll make recommendations as such. So, Governor, the referral of Annex 3, you might want to apologize to the committee for trying to mislead us, number 1, and number 2, you can request that your response on this be struck out until you are meant to refer to Annex 2A and 2B. Because I'm assuming, Chair, when we are writing our reports, we will not walk around with all this documentation for easy referral. So I don't know whether the governor would want to withdraw that and amend it properly, and also apologize to us for trying to mislead this committee.
I think at this point we must, sorry, Senator, the level before.
I wanted to clarify from the auditor whether, because in his query, he has queried that this 12 million was transferred to facilities that are not clustered as level 4 hospitals. So I want him to confirm whether the documents or the attachments that have been given in Annex 2A or in Booklet 2A confirms that these facilities like Wagad Dispensary are level 4 hospital and other hospitals included in that annexure.
Chair,
can you confirm whether these are level 4 hospitals? Because in your query, you said they are not clustered as level 4 hospitals.
Chair, so that when the AG is responding, I thought it would be neater on this aspect of referral of Annex 3 be rectified. You can rule so that when we are referring to the management response that is in tandem with the annexures. I thought it would be neater that way.
Yeah, I think that was the first thing we did, and the Governor had asked you whether you are amending your written response to refer to Annex 2A and 2B. Just go on record on that. That's also a straightforward procedural matter.
Chair, we labeled our annexures in line with the query itself. So if, for instance, unsupported transfers to health facilities, we label that as Annexure 3. Problem is that Annexure 3 booklet, the booklet was called, because we are now labeling the booklets, the booklet was labeled as 2A and 2B, containing the annexures for unsupported transfer to health. If it's going to help, we can rename them 3. I think, but that's
unnecessary. I think we are not putting you to task on anything, and let's not be too defensive. If we want to waste time, we can read through every matter. We can go through all these documents. What I'm saying is we are going to retreat. The Auditor General has given us an assurance that the 12 million, he can see how they are distributed. So let's not waste time, honorable members. We have bigger matters in this report. When we are referring to this matter, we look at Annex 2B and 2A, and it is clear that for, just 2 or 3 issues, all these mountains of documents have been provided. This is not prudent use of public resources. So I think the point has been made. We can go to another issue. There, as I said, there are bigger issues than this 12 million. So
but finally on that, Chair, many of the documents in this Annex 2A are receipts for purchases for the hospitals. Just skimming through some of them, and because you have not paginated, it's difficult for me to refer you to the specific ones. But you will see that in many of those receipts, the quantities of the things being purchased are not present, and as a CPA yourself, you know that that is a bit problematic. I'll give you just 3 examples. So for instance, there is a receipt you have attached here from, I think it's Takawa shop or something like that. It just says 1 cylinder full for gas refilling, 3,000. So would anyone know what size of gas that is? I have seen another one here says 8 pieces of electric bulbs. 8 pieces of electric bulbs. One bulb you're buying at 500 shillings. I don't know what type of bulb that is. Then the last one, Chair, is 1 trip of water tracking to the facility by water bowser. And I have no way of knowing if this is 6,000 liters, 12,000 liters. The receipt doesn't say, but there's an amount there of 15,000. So, Auditor General, when you go through some of these documents, don't just come tell the Senate that the issue has been resolved. You must interrogate whether the documentation that has been presented makes sense. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, that is a risk of coming with mountains of documents to the Senate, because you have brought them to the Senate. And so we have a right to scrutinize and go page by page. In fact, if it was not for efficiency of time, we could sit here up to 10 p.m. going through these documents. But I think, members, the point raised by Senator Sifuna, Senator Cherarke, and Senator Lelegwe, I think for Senator Lelegwe will require a response from the auditor.
Chair, the transfers were made to dispensaries only and not level 4 hospitals. The number of dispensaries are 69 in number.
69 in number, and you told us you have a schedule indicating the amounts that went to every specific hospital.
Yes, Chair, we have shared that to our liaison officer.
I've already shared in the group for the 12 million.
Okay, honorable members, I want us to proceed to undisclosed account payables. Here we are dealing with a huge figure of 1.3 billion. I think that would be a better use of the time of the Senate rather than going through 300 pages of receipts. Auditor General.
Thank you, Chair. Undisclosed accounts payables. The statement of financial position reflects trade and other payables balance of Kenya shillings 3,586,603,121 as disclosed in Note 17 to the financial statements. Included in the balance is an amount of Kenya shillings 1,314,679,336 being additional payables which were not disclosed in the prior year's audited financial statements. Examination of payment records relating to various projects revealed that an amount of Kenya shillings 202,671,502 was paid during the year in respect of projects that were initiated and procured in the previous financial years. However, the pending bills were not disclosed in the prior year's audit financial statements. This is contrary to paragraph 2.2.4 of the National Treasury Circular number that dated 25th June 2019, which requires the disclosures of pending bills to enhance transparency in the management. The circular requires that pending bills movement should be disclosed to provide transparency in the handling of outstanding bills and to facilitate informed decision making, particularly concerning long outstanding pending bills. Thank you, Chairman.
Governor, you may take us through your response.
Chairman,
Mr. Chairman, the payments in question relates to legitimate obligations arising from projects and commitments undertaken in previous financial years under the former county administration. The omission of these obligations from the disclosed list of pending bills was not deliberate but resulted from reconciliation challenges, incomplete supporting documentations, and limitations associated with cash basis reporting framework that was in use at the time of the preparation of the financial statements. Upon subsequent verification, reconciliation, and confirmation of the outstanding obligation, management processed the payments to settle valid liabilities and avoid further delays, accumulation of penalties, interruption of subsidy delivery, and potential litigation risks against the county government. The payments were therefore made in respect of general obligations incurred by the county and were aimed at safeguarding public resources and ensuring compliance with contractual commitments. The county treasury has commenced the implementation of the accrual-based accounting and reporting in accordance with applicable public sector accounting standards. As part of this transition, all pending liabilities and acquired assets are required to be disclosed and recognized appropriately in the financial statements beginning financial year 2024-25. During the transition process, the county treasury undertook a comprehensive reconciliation of pending bills and identified liabilities that had not been disclosed in previous financial statements prepared under the cash basis accounting framework. Management has strengthened their review, reconciliation, and reporting processes relating to pending bills to ensure that all outstanding obligations are accurately captured, verified, and disclosed in future financial statements. The county treasury has also enhanced coordination with pending departments to ensure timely submission of supporting documentation and periodic reconciliation of liabilities throughout the financial year. Management remains committed to improving financial reporting processes and internal controls to ensure accurate, complete, and transparent disclosure of pending bills and to prevent recurrence of similar audit queries in future financial years. Thank you.
Okay, we had the benefit of discussing this with the Auditor General earlier, and we have a big problem with this particular matter, because the Auditor General says that 1.3 billion in the form of pending bills was manufactured in that year, for lack of a better word. They were not disclosed in the prior year, they emerged in the year under review. What is the assurance that these are not manufactured pending bills to the tune of 1.3 billion? Because the issue is disclosure. And from a financial reporting perspective, disclosure and settlements are two different things. You must recognize your liabilities. You must recognize your contingent liabilities. Even if there were 20 billion, you must recognize, you must disclose them. But if you don't disclose and all of a sudden you have 1.3 billion, which is about, is that $10 million? It's actually a round figure when converted to dollars. It might give the impression that someone was looking for $10 million and decided to manufacture pending bills. Now, the Treasury are the ones who came up with that circular. Let's first get the basis of this query before we ask the governor to respond. What is the responsibility of an entity in terms of disclosure of liabilities?
Thank you, Senators. We are talking about contingent liabilities. That is liabilities that might crystallize or they may not crystallize. And therefore, the way to account for them, the prudent way of accounting for the contingent liabilities, first you want to disclose all the liabilities. Then you exhaust the other means that you're using to verify those liability. The ones that are verifiable, they are paid. The ones that are not verifiable, they are not paid. That is the position, Honorable Chair.
So can you disclose a lower amount because you think they might not be valid, and then bring them up in the subsequent year?
Chair, you're supposed to disclose all of them, because if you disclose a raw amount and in the subsequent years you bring in other figures, then they will look strange. So the prudent way is that disclose all of them and know when they crystallize, now you can pay, and you can even be able to explain where they are coming from. Thank you.
And so that's what gives credence to the suspicion that this could be manufactured bills. Governor, you want to respond, or members, you want to put in some questions? Do we first get the governor's response? Okay. Yeah, Governor, you may respond.
Chair, I just want to state a few things. Number one, the allegation of manufacturing of fictitious liability is a very serious allegation, and it has never come up either in the exit meeting or in all the discussions we've had with the auditor, number one. Number two, we both recognize, myself and the auditors, the specific challenge that Wajir County has had with respect to brought forward liabilities, because the opening balances of 1 year, even in the auditor's financial statements, have never really agreed with the closing balance of payables in the previous year. The assumption of, and we've had this conversation before with this committee, the assumption of office report had 5.6 billion shillings of pending liability. The auditor's own investigation report into pending bills had a totally different number, as low as 300 and something. And our own verification through other independent consultants brought something a bit closer to the figure of 1.7. And even that with a lot of caveats, because the system of procurement had completely collapsed in the period between 2018 and 2022. So what we have done, and there are even actually physical structures for which people had LSOs, but which were not in any of those reports. So what we have done as a county government is to pay what is physically verifiable. Absence of a complete listing of accounting payables, either from the auditor or from the assumption of office report or from the outside consultants. So the approach we took was twofold. Number one, track our own payables from commitment to payment so that we don't add to the problem. And two, deal with the historical pending bills by concentrating on what is verifiable, which is classrooms, dispensaries, water wells, the things that were verifiable. So, because this is a very serious allegation, Chair, what I suggest is, because, the allegation that we manufactured pending bills is very, very serious, that the auditor be tasked with, I'm actually requesting this as governor, investigating the 1.3 that is being claimed we paid and are manufactured. Because each of them must have a name, project name, what it is, where it is. I'm here in this manufacturing business now. I know there are reconciliation issues on our accounting payables as a result of that historical problem, which has no easy fix.
Governor, you as an FCPN, you know that closing and opening balances ought to tie. It is your responsibility to explain to the Senate how the 1.3 billion came to be. In your written response, you've done prose. You've just written composition. Unless there is clarity on the process that was followed, obviously the Treasury has already told us your responsibility with respect to recognition of liabilities. That was not done properly. If you do not provide a proper explanation, we shall take home the conclusion that 1.3 billion was manufactured. So, Governor, the auditors cannot go back to do an investigation I think it is for you to explain to this committee the processes, because a lot of numbers, you've given a lot of numbers, 5.6 billion from assumption of office, 300 million from the auditors, 1.7 billion from your own internal analysis. How did these 1.3 then, how are they exhumed and made payable? Because, or are they additions for the year? Auditor General, we need to be clear. Is the 1.3 additions for the year, or those are historical liabilities? Let's make that, let's have that distinction.
Thank you, Chair. The 1.3 relates to an historical liability.
So they are historical, because if they're additions for the year, then we shouldn't have a problem. So how did you exhume 1.3 billion worth of pending bills and recognize them as payable? I think that's the question that you must answer and not the Auditor General. Senator Umbua.
Listening to the governor, I'm left wondering whether then he is disputing this figure. He's saying that he doesn't know about this figure, because even in his responses, he actually doesn't even make an attempt to try and give a breakdown of that figure of 1.3 billion. It's just a statement that he gives. So, Governor, are you disputing that? Are you saying that that figure does not belong to you? It is the work of the Office of the Auditor General?
Can we consolidate the question so that we are a bit efficient? Senator Cherargei?
Yeah, I find the governor's management response, although you have called it composition, confusing, because in one aspect he says there was issue of reconciliation challenges, incomplete supporting documentation, limitation associated with cash basis reporting. Then on the second paragraph he said, upon subsequent verification, reconciliation and confirmation of outstanding obligations, then they settle valid liabilities. So, Governor, if you are disputing 1.3 billion as being manufactured, or let me not use the word manufacture, it doesn't sit well with you, or being cooked, the 1.3 you are talking about, what was the justification in your second paragraph? That would be question number one. Number two, Governor, through the chair, looking at under 1 year on this 1.3 billion that has been cooked, it's 38%. Looking at over 3 years, it's 1.7 billion, 48%. Looking at aging analysis in note number 17, and it is good you are an FCPA, you have accumulated 52% of the pending bill of 3.5 billion. There is an exponential growth under 1 year of 38%. That is the one we are talking about, 1.3 billion. So in this 1.3 billion, that is, let me look your years that you have been in office, between 2 to 3 years, 1 to 2 years, and 1.5 years. This is 52% of 3.5 billion. This exponential growth makes us believe that this account payables, trade and other payables was cooked. Number three, and finally, you have said verification. What was, and you have the people who had LSO and other justifiable that was not captured, and you are an FCPA, you know, non-disclosure of such in your financial statement is grave. So when you say verification, did you gazette a verification committee? Is there a report that that committee went through the chair? Is there a committee that sat? And where is that report that can attach to verification in terms of this 1.3 billion? And I want to agree with Senator Wabua that even in response of governor, he has not attached to break down to show that 1.3 billion chair. Unless what the governor is requesting, in conclusion, that will be my final question, is a forensic audit with a view of prosecution. Because if he's demanding an audit, it should be forensic. Because if it is cooked, then that 1.3 billion under 1 year is very serious. So, Chair, that will be my three questions.
So I think Senator Cherargei has done a comprehensive analysis of note 17, which has the aging as well. But we might lose the point on the 1.3, the additional liabilities that were undisclosed. So Governor, maybe just start by restricting yourself to the 1.3. We have no visibility in your response on the process that you undertook to certify the 1.3. I think that is what is missing. That is what you didn't explain. Give us that explanation so that we can expunge the impression of manufacturing from our minds. Just start with the 1.3 billion. Run us through that process.
Chair, the list of, is this part of the documentation? Where is it? Yes, in the financial statement. The list of the 1.3 is part of the financial statements, and it's listed item by item. Item by item. This is, and it shows what it is. It is not in note 17. So, and
no, note 17 is a summary. Note 17 is just the aging, your summarized reporting.
In the financial statements.
You see, Governor, just to help you, in the cash basis reporting, you used to attach the list of pending bills. When we went to accrual, we stopped attaching it. So I think your officers should guide you properly. Note 17 is a summary, is a summation, which also has a problem because the aging of staff payables has not been done, and we'll be coming to that. Okay, proceed.
Chair, and we can provide the listing of what makes up the 1.3. I've just been given here. So I don't know whether the auditor has that, of what has the 1.3. And I want to put it on record that none of this is fictitious because they are itemized. It says what it is, and mostly it's actually developmental. It's largely construction and ECD classrooms, toilets, wherever. And these are things that can be verified. So, and I am not...
Would you like to just help us understand the process? Because in prior year, you disowned them, the 1.3. And in this year, you are saying, okay, we shall pay. It's the process that I think we could start with, because the details of the listing really is your purview as a CEO.
Now, the process is, let me spread this, I mean, because there's also the question of the current one that Senator Chergey raised. With respect to an historical, let me put that into perspective, historical pending bills, because of the situation of the record keeping and that nothing agreed to nothing, we decided that we'll take all those reports, isolate what is verifiable, and only pay what is verified. When we go and see this classroom was indeed done in that period between 18 to 22, but it was not paid, this is what we pay. You know,
Chair, on a matter of procedure, I wish when the governor is reading, we are on the same page. So we are just listening to him. Is there a document so that we can...
Okay. Governor, if there is a document or an annexure we can refer to, you can point us.
I thought I started by saying we have the list, and the auditor also verified that he has the list of the 1.3, and we can provide that to
do we have it anywhere here?
We have it.
It's
not in the...
It's in the annexure of the financial statement, because the report we are doing is...
No, Governor. Under accrual, you guys didn't attach that list. You used to attach it under cash. So it's not there. What's there, note 17 is a summation. And I think it's fair, if it's not here, just to say that you shall provide it, so that it's not protracted.
Chair, I've just seen from... I've just seen in our WhatsApp page, an Excel document has been shared by the auditor containing the list of 1.3.
No, honourable members, let's not refer to all those extraneous things. Governor, the major concern, even before we come to the composition...
I was explaining the process.
Is the process.
I was explaining the process.
Please.
With respect to the historical pending bills, because of the situation of incomplete records that we inherited, and all these attempts by the Auditor General, by the Assumption Office Committee, and by the independent consultant that we hired, we brought together everything that they said, because each of them was also coming with a lot of caveats to say we were unable to whatever. And in some of those years, if you go back, there are actually disclaimers on audit opinion. So what we then decided to do is to deal, because it was both ways. There were people who were claiming things that weren't done, and there were things that were done which were not in any report. So we decided, and we made this public, that we will pay what is verifiable. And the list of the 1.3 is what we've paid that is verifiable. The auditor has said he has. If Senate doesn't have, we are willing to provide. And I'm even willing further to say if there is any of that that is believed to be manufactured, it will be subjected to further audit process to ensure.
Sorry, Governor.
Because for us, we paid what we verified.
Just for clarification.
Yeah.
You've made a statement that we must understand properly.
Yeah.
Is a 1.3 billion paid or payable?
Payable.
Because you say paid.
Payable.
Yeah.
Payable.
And again,
Yeah.
our problem is not even in the payment. Our problem is lack of recognition in prior year, and then all of a sudden you have a 1.3 billion bill. I don't know whether we have understood the process as explained by the
I have
governor.
gotten even further confused.
Senator Sifuna?
Because the governor is saying, I don't know when that process began, Governor. When did the process of looking, you basically went out to hunt for bills? Because you're saying you got into office, there are no records, then you make an announcement that we are looking for people who we might owe money. Is that the story? When did that process begin?
And Senator, let me explain what happened.
Start with when the process began, which year?
It began immediately we came into office, but it took quite some time.
That's 2022.
2022. Right?
Yes.
So what we did is we first took what is available. We looked at the financials. What was disclosed in the financials?
So just there, there is where you are losing me, Governor.
Yes.
So there was something in the financials.
Yes.
How come the auditor is saying there was no such thing? Because in the prior years we should have seen some amounts, but we have a situation where from 2022 up to now, out of nowhere, we are hit with 1.3 billion.
No, I think that we do not agree with contention.
Yeah, that's the case.
We don't agree with.
No, that's what is before us, Governor. We are able to interpret the report of the Auditor General and also your financial statements.
And Chair, let me put this in this way and allow me time to explain this process. Number one, there was a
how much
figure.
time do we have to explain all these things? Really?
Okay.
Surely.
Did you want to make an interjection?
Yes, I want to.
Okay, let's take the question from Senator Wangua
Chair,
so that you factor it in your explanation.
First of all, and the governor surely must know this better than me, better than all of us. He is an accomplished accountant. If a disclosure has not been made, and it forms the basis of an audit query, as a responsible government, as an accountant, the thing that you do is to provide detailed explanation in terms of financials, not pros, not saying this is what we are doing, this is what we did. Now, I hear the governor and the office of the Auditor General are talking about a document that is supposed to explain this query, which document we don't have. Yeah. How are we supposed to process that query?
Chair, just
Senator Chiradke?
Governor can come clean. I have heard him alluding that when they came to office, they assessed these trade payables and it is historical. But when you look at aging analysis, there is an over 3 years, which I believe is historical of 1.7 billion.
Yeah.
So he's confusing us further by saying he's referring to historical, yet we have 1.7 already. Yet under this, under 1 year is 1.3 billion. So, Chair, the governor should assist us by being very clear in this between 1.7 and 1.3, because that breakdown, we want to arrive at 1.3 billion so that we remove the assertion that it was manufactured. And Chair, when you look even at the schedule, I don't know what you people drink in Wajir. He was spending in food and drinks of 6.5 million. For me, it looks like they were going to fish and telling hotel how much did we drink, Tulikunywa chai na mandazi, nini, 6.5. If you look at that schedule, it looks, it had been, they went hunting as what Senator Sifuna for these bills. If you look at the schedule.
So in the, Governor, in the absence of a detailed explanation, the senators are not wrong to speculate. And so let's give the governor an opportunity to explain. If there is need for documentary evidence to support his explanation, we can give those directions. But we are all interested in finding out how 1.3 billion just dropped from the skies. Was it some pensions that hadn't been paid or some gratuities that, you know, all of a sudden came to your attention? Please help us understand that.
Chair, I think we're mixing issues here. So let me first of all separate two things. Because Senator Cherargei has also talked about bills of less than 1 year. Matters of less than 1 year have to do with cut-off issues. We are in June now, for instance. We have incurred commitments. We have not received the money for May and June. Even if we receive it before midnight of 30th of June, chances are that by the time the system is closed, some of that money will not have been utilized. So those are just timing issues from 1 year to the other with respect to the payables that are within the 1 year.
And I don't think we don't have a problem with that.
What I'm trying to address,
let's deal with the 1.3.
Is 1.3, which is under the note on the accounts payable, and which the auditor has clarified he has the listings, the detailed listings that add to that 1.3. And we're saying those are the historical verified physical structures which we decided to pay on account of the incompleteness of the record that we inherited. And that the records were incomplete.
Okay, let's give him 1 minute to finish.
Because
that schedule.
Can I just finish,
Just a
Senator,
minute,
please?
Governor. Because
I might lose my thoughts.
We want to follow what you're saying.
Okay, Governor, just give it a moment.
That schedule that has been shared,
yes.
Does it have a column for us to understand when these invoices were incurred? Is there a column to show us that this is from 2021 or 2022?
It has. Yes, it has.
Which column is that? Because the one that has, I'm using Cherargei's very expensive phone, Chair.
Because I'm the government, so you can imagine.
No, if I break it. I know the county can disown anything that is coming from Cherargei's gadget, so
yes.
you'd rather use your own phone.
If I use my own phone, they will accuse me of being manufacturing. So, Governor, which column here shows me when this bills were actually incurred, so that I know it is historical? Because the dates I'm seeing is there's a column there that says just 1 minute payment date, and Honorable Chair, they are all from 2024, 2025. So that when you tell us it's historical,
Senator, you have raised a very valid and important point, but let's not lose the question on process. On who is it who decided that this 1.3 billion should. Yes, because on the face of it, as I said, that's $10 million, 1.3 billion. So we need to allay that fear. So Governor, I don't know, you are not very detailed on the process. Is it your finance officer who said, Governor, all of a sudden we've got this 1.3 billion, let's pay? Was it a task force? Was it internal audit? Was it Auditor General? And obviously Auditor General cannot be part of that. Yeah. So what was the process? What was the decision-making process to recognize the 1.3 billion as payables?
It was a multi-departmental committee that now had to receive all the reports. And every department again was told, can you then physically go and check what in every locality is a physical item that has not been paid or is being claimed. They went with the report physically.
Chair, you'll accuse me of being impatient, but anybody would get impatient with this, honestly, because if it's a committee, then that was said. I'm saying this issue, even a memo that sets up that committee and say, the governor, because this is a very material audit query. You should have come here and told us On this date, the departments were told to have a multi-agency, whatever, meeting to forward the claims in their departments with any documentation that's available. And after that, this is what the meeting followed. This is what we got. The minutes of the meetings. Finally, it was decided from this department, 5 million. From this department, 20 million. From this department, 30 million. Cumulatively, 1.3 billion. That's what we did. Oh. Chair, anything short of that is just stories.
So let's, maybe we have different ways of contextualizing things.
Chair,
but Governor, Senator Lelegwe has a query which might be beneficial so that you can consolidate everything.
Just when I go through the Excel sheet provided to the auditor, there is a more suspicious figure of a repeated 60 entries of an amount of 1,399,000 amounting to 83 million. A similar figure for 60 entries.
And that's a risk of looking at reports that have not been tabled under oath.
Yeah. That amounts to about 83.9 million.
Can you, Governor, can I help you? Can you go back to the process before you go to the content?
Let me, I think here the problem is that I'm not even being allowed to say what I want to say up to the end.
I have given you the floor.
Chair, I have said, with respect to the historical, and by the way, we provided even the report of the consultants to the auditor and to Senate, and we'll bring the evidence that we actually sent all those reports to Senate when all those reports were done. Every single report that was done, we provided to Senate, we provided to EACC, we provided to the Controller of Budget, and we'll send to this committee all the forwarding letters and the proof that they were received in the Senate. Because of the situation we were in, and we were under a lot of pressure from the public to pay pending bills, we had to go for what was verifiable. Senator Lelegwe, it's not unusual to find one figure if you're doing the same things. For instance, if it's one classroom, chances are that the classroom will be awarded for the same amount across. If it's toilets, probably the same amount across. And this is what I'm saying, because this is a note, and there's a listing attached to it, we interrogate that listing and we physically verify those. We physically verify when they were done. I have no problem with that. And I think that's what I would have expected the auditors to do. But as to why we were bringing it in, because nothing agreed. The figure that was brought forward in the financials even if it's through a memorandum record as recognized payable, did not agree with the investigation report by the by the Auditor General on pending payables, did not agree with the assumption of report office, and did not agree with what the consultant did. And it was, Chair, I'll give you an example. In the assumption of office report, there was 600 million, I can't remember the exact figure, relating to things of physical nature which were not physically on the ground, including boreholes, including classrooms, including fencing of hospitals, but which the committee of the consultants working with the one that we established, because they still had to work with the people to go around, could not actually see. There are villages we went to where we were told there were classrooms, and you go to that village and you find the kids are in and under trees. Yet the assumption of report said there were classrooms in there. And this is why we decided we'll only pay what was verified. So this is the situation. And I remember, Chair, we had these conversations about Wajir pending bills in the first committee of PAC. So this is what I'm dealing with. As to what is current, Chair, there is no problem. It's just a timing issue. Whatever we carry forward, because sometimes it's also multi-year projects, which is not paid by 30th of June, when we get our money and the system opens, we pay. And we track our commitments. I'll give you an example, Chair. one of the things we are struggling with is to pay statutory payables carried forward, which was not done for 25 months. Within that period, we have paid our statutory reductions every single month under the current regime. But when you're left with 9 billion, 7 billion, 6 billion pending bills left, right, and center, even my entire development budget after I paid salaries cannot cover that in 5 years. And this is why there's a conversation between Senate and National Treasury on those, for instance, statutory liabilities. Because statutory liabilities is very easy to verify. There can be no fictitious statutory liabilities. People deducted people's money and never remitted for 25 months. I have no way of making that up unless all I'll be doing is to pay what was left by the past regime and I don't provide services. This is the situation.
Governor, I have a separate query on statutory remittances of 732 million. We'll deal with it because it's a big thing that applies to all counties. We cannot leave the 1.3 billion until we are sure of the process. And I thought that you were going to tell us that there are minutes, there are reports which can be provided. Because
we will provide all the minutes, all the constitution of the committees, all the reports of every team that looked into the payables.
The problem is this. When we sat at the first meeting, when you came back to office, the issue of ghost pending bills was big. In fact, many of us here sat through the impeachment proceedings of the former governor of Wajir. And many of the allegations were to do with pending bills and financial impropriety, interest management, etc. We have that background. And what we have expected you to do in your administration is to write down, to verify and get rid of fake bills progressively. So 2022, 2023, you had a huge stock. I don't know whether it was 5 billion or 7 billion, whatever it was. 2023, 2024, your accountants certified a figure as being the accounts payables. Then 2024, 2025, the same accountants and heads of departments tell you, sorry, to Achane na ile last year, we have 1.3 billion more to pay. That is where the problem is. If in 2023, 2024, the roads department said that their pending bills were 500 million, and then it was certified and the CPAs put their signatures on this report, how do they come again next year and tell you, no, it wasn't 500, it is now 800? You see, that's the problem. That's the problem. And if it's done through internal mechanisms, it can result in rigging of bills. It can result in manufacturing of bills. So we need to get clarity on that process. All of us here sometimes get petitions from members of the public, our bills are not being paid, but our position is clear. If the bill is verified and the county government has agreed to it, it should be paid. It is fairly unusual to see a growth in historical pending bills. The general trend is a reduction because you are doing verification and you are dismissing those things that you are talking about that were said to be on the ground and yet they were not there. So that is why we have spent a little bit of time here, because it is an unusual trend where it is going up. And I know that in our first conversation, you were concerned that it was too high. So I don't know how it hit, the curve started going up rather than going down.
Chair, I fully agree with you, but it depends on what you started from. If you are starting from the assumption of office report and what we have verified as payable is 1.3, it still come down. It's just that the financial statements of the auditor did not fully capture all the pending payables, number one. The assumption of office report, on the other hand...
Sorry again, Governor. You refer to a report of the auditor?
The inherited financial statements had a much lower number than what was being claimed.
That's 21-22.
21-22.
21-22.
Yes. And the process took quite some time, to get a final report.
So 22-23, you disclosed the liabilities went up.
The liabilities went up.
Went up.
Went up.
Okay.
But still much lower than what was in the assumption of office report. So we, in a sense, picked all those reports and just picked what was of physical nature and decided to constitute those as what is payable. Frankly, that's what it is, basically. Because what was being demanded was much higher. And it cut both ways. I gave you the example of the 600 million of things that are of verifiable nature, which were in the assumption of office report, but which are not on the ground. But also, even within Wajir town, there were offices, for instance, constructed for departments, which the suppliers were coming to knock on my door to say, ofisi yangu inatumika, na sijalipwa, but was not in any report.
Okay.
We had polytechnics that were in use, but were not in any report. So we had to work both ways.
Fine.
And that's why we decided to stick.
I think you have emphasized it.
Yeah.
You have emphasized it. Senator Ogwa, you are a professional scribe. How would you summarize this conversation?
I think, Chair, I would just simply say Kizungu Mingi.
What would be the headline?
A lot of English. Just a lot of English.
And
You know why, Chair?
And he used to work
You
with
know,
standard.
even just what Senator Leregwe has mentioned there, on the 1.3 million, 60 entries, 60 entries of 1.3 million. You know, what would I expect the governor to do is not to give us a theory. Just to say, that 1.3 million,
Where are those 60?
the 60 entries is a classroom, or toilets, or whatever it is. I mean, Chair, I also went to school in the US. And at some point when things get a little muddled up, we will say it is what it is. That's where I'll leave it.
Chair, can I propose
Senator Cherarki?
even as you direct the governor to provide further information, we must be specific. I think that is what Senator Wambua said. So that when you say access roads, is it in Wajir North, Wajir South, is it in Wajir Town or Eldas? And also, I've seen one interesting medical insurance of 322.1 million. What it attached to? Which are these companies? Was it for the staff? Chair, the issue of gifts, food and drinks of 6.5 million to some grand oases. The entries, 6.5 million on food and drinks and gifts.
No, I think, Chair, that's not in the list of the 1.3. That's not in the list of the 1.3.
Order, Governor.
Yeah.
You might want to ask what is reading before you dismiss.
Yeah. This is the schedule you just provided. Governor, are you running away from your documents again? Are you running away?
Is that 1.3?
So that we know how to deal with it.
That is a schedule that was provided to the auditor
That was even
and
provided
circulated.
by the auditor.
Okay, I'm just confirming.
Yes.
Go ahead, Senator, go ahead.
I can confirm that it is the same on this opposition phone. The same as the one.
But your phone looks cheap. So
Can we try Mwaruma's phone?
Let's try and
See whether the results will be the same.
That's a techno.
But Chair, there's a question the governor
That's a
didn't
techno
answer.
one.
There's a question the governor didn't answer.
Yes, Senator's phone.
On that same schedule. Now he wants to run away from his schedule, but Governor, you needed to answer whether on that schedule you provided, I can tell which date that amount was incurred. Is there a column that refers to any time?
Senator, there's through the Chair, there's a column for the financial year.
Where is that?
It says...
Which column is that?
It doesn't refer. It's just about payment date.
It's his document. You know, if you read yours, you will run away from it. Let him read his own document.
And there is a date that there's a column that says payment date.
Yes, that is the only one that has dates, Governor.
Payment date.
Yes.
So those are actual settlements.
Yeah.
Not liabilities.
So how do you know, Governor, that this is a historical thing because you say it started in 2022? If you just went with that first one there, advertising, awareness and publicity campaigns, it says 2024-2025. Is that when it was incurred?
You know, the dot shown here is the payment date because, I mean, is the date in which it was incurred, not the payment date. But
so, Governor, you agree with me then that this is not historical debt?
Actually,
these are largely historical.
This is a payments list. That's why I asked the question whether this is a list of invoices paid or payable. But it appears they are paid because there's a payment date, the 1.3.
You know, Chair, at the time of the audit, it was payable, but now it's been paid. You know, so, because the audit itself happened. We're talking of 2024.
So the 1.3 billion, the 1.3 billion that was exhumed has been paid fully.
Partly paid.
But this schedule totals 1.3.
Yes, partly paid, because every year we provide an amount for pending bills and then tick off from this list. So we can reconcile to say what has been paid and what's not been paid.
Just Governor, for clarity.
Again, Judge,
for clarity.
Again, just 1 minute, because on that point.
As of
then
today, partly paid.
If it is partly paid, then again, Governor, the easiest thing would have been for you to tell us these are already paid and these are not paid.
But my question has not been answered.
Right.
You have provided me a document that cannot help me understand that process that you spoke about. I should be able to know that first item there, instead of telling me you've paid it or when you paid it, when was it incurred is more important in the conversation we were having, because you say these things are historical. And Governor, you know, you are a CPA, I'm a lawyer. The word historical should mean the same to both of us.
Yes.
Yeah, so the documents that you should provide is to show us, for instance, you talked about classrooms that had been built that have not been paid for. You should say, this classroom at this place was built in 2019 and it has never been paid for. We are paying for it in 2022, 2023. That's what I expect from a CPA.
Senator, I hear you and I agree. We have provided this to the auditors and all this was provided. But, Chair, I am okay to go back to this and give further data on when incurred, whether paid, whether not paid, and
the process.
And the process.
And the process.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we will not be unfair if we reach the conclusion that these are manufactured in the absence of clarity on the process.
Chair, to me, this schedule says the wording there, payment date. To me, this 1.3 billion has been paid as per this schedule, unless the governor would want to withdraw this document. Because it says payment date. So the English I know is that, the English I know of a lawyer, of a church elder, or a bishop like my brother here, is payment date has been 1.3 billion. So, Governor, are you withdrawing your own document to get us a better document? Because you have now introduced another angle, it is partly paid. Because we don't want to imagine that this was a payment, error, the payment of error. Because looking at most of these issues, there is no specificity. Somebody from Wajir, wherever they come from, Wajir North or South, or even Wajir County, if I tell them, county has paid money for access roads to this amount, where do they attach? Because I'm happy you said you did a social audit. You send people on the ground. So when you say access roads, which road from point A to B that was done with how much, how many kilometers, all those, Chair, if they are missing, I might want to associate yourself on the issue of either manufacturing or cooking, whichever you want to go home with.
No, Senator Cherge, you are doing very well until you get there.
Order, Governor.
You are not.
Governor, order.
You are not in charge of this meeting.
Order. We were doing very well until Governor took the microphone.
Correct.
So.
And my advice, he should switch off his microphone. It is safer not to talk.
Okay. Members, we have done very well so far, so let's not lose it. I think let's round up this matter so that we are clear on what we expect from the governor, and then we can deal with other issues. Senator Lelegwe.
Chair, I disagree with the governor's response in my query when I asked him about the 1.399 million figure. you said it is a classroom, and when you build a classroom in Wajir, there is a possibility that you will have the same figure. But now, if you see the list of those people that have been paid, or the companies that have been paid, are 60 different companies. So how can 60 different people quote the same figure, 1,399,400, 60 times?
And again, to add on that, the cost of doing a classroom, the farthest end of Wajir cannot be the same cost of doing a classroom in Wajir town.
You see, members, we are querying this schedule and giving the impression or assumption that the process was okay. If the process was not proper, then even the discussion on the contents of that list stands on very shaky ground. So we must first establish that process.
Yeah, to help answer Senator Lelegwe's question, Senator Lelegwe, first of all, you have to appreciate that these were awarded by the previous regime. So if they decided they are going to award every classroom for 1.399, regardless of where it is, but for me, I have decided to pay the classroom because it's verifiable. I just have to live with that. And it was not unusual for them to use one number for all dispensaries, one number for all classrooms. And there are places where we even questioned and said, yeah, this thing is physically verifiable, but the amount being quoted does not really make sense. So the ones that we thought the cost was reasonable in light of the scenario we were facing are the ones that we decided to include in what is payable. So it was usual in that regime to say 10 dispensaries each at 3.8. As you say, the procurement process, if done objectively, should have had certain differences. But here you are. You have the classroom, you are seeing it. And by the way, in certain cases, Senator, for you to understand this, there are cases where the public have threatened to close the classroom. There are others where they have gone to court and the court asked us to pay. And this is why I want to improve that list with a lot more details, not to disown it, as Secretary says, but provide more details as to those things. Yeah.
Okay, Senator Sifuna, hopefully you are giving us a way forward.
Before we depart from that note 17, I'm just wondering if there's another audit query there. But Governor, what is that item number 2 there? Or under use of goods? Yeah. Yeah, what is that? At note 17 of the financials.
That ought to be property, plant and equipment.
No, I think I want him to tell us, Chair.
Yeah,
because
Governor?
you know we have discovered that words mean differently to different people.
Yeah, Governor? Actually, why can it be? What was that thing used during COVID?
That's why I want him to be the one to say it, Chair.
Yeah, so I withdraw my definition. Let's get the Governor's definition of that PPE.
Note 17.
Governor, you are the CEO and you had the notes before you. I just want to know what it means. The financials. Not the financials. Oh. It's on page 26, officer. There's an item there for 2,179,000,000. Yes. What is that second item on the column there? It's page 26, note number 17.
Nobody knows what this is.
So I think that PPE, Senator, is property, plant and equipment. So it's 2.179 billion.
How is it wasn't in the previous statement? Previous year's financials.
This is the first year of a whole account. Previously, we were cash.
Just use the mic, please.
And Senator, because in the previous year, there was a need to put this in the financials in that sense because we were on cash basis accounting.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's not the answer, Governor. That figure is part of the 1.3 that the auditor is querying. That was not there in prior year. So
that is why
your explanation is only half of it.
I thought that they could be related, those two.
Auditor General?
Thank you, Chair. The reporting template for the 2024-2025 and allowed the first-time adopters of the accrual to take some advantage. But they
Auditor, go straight to the issue.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying
the 2.17 billion that Senator Sifuna is saying was zero prior year.
So
is it part of the 1.3 that you're saying was not disclosed?
It is not.
Okay, so where is it coming from?
It is not for the, I think for the
Chair.
And Auditor, remember you are not the preparer of this financial statement, so you can just comment on matters of standards, rather than the completeness of numbers.
Chair, the 1.3 actually, because that note on payables is everything, whether historical or recurrent. So the 1.3 is indeed part of that.
Yeah. So, Auditor, I think let's leave it there because we'll start contradicting ourselves. So it's part of that 1.3 that the auditor said was not disclosed. And Senator Sifuna, you asked whether there were other audit queries on that note. Indeed, there is one. Let's go straight to it. Then we will give general recommendations on trade payables and remitted statutory and employee benefit deductions.
Chair, maybe with your indulgence, you didn't give direction on 1.3 billion.
No, because, since it's all part of note 17,
yes,
we look at the statutory deductions.
Then you rule on the same.
Then we give a global advice. Auditor General, you could read your finding on pension, statutory and employees benefits deductions, a figure of 732 million, which is included in note 17. It's under the report on lawfulness, and in the original certificate, it's issue number 6, unremitted statutory and employee benefit deductions. And if you go back to note 17, you'll see the social security benefits and employee payables.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Unremitted statutory and employees benefits deductions. The statement of financial position reflects trade and other payables balance of Kenya shillings 3,586,633,121, and as disclosed in note 17 to the financial statement, including the balance is an amount of Kenya shillings 732,615,329 in respect of unremitted statutory deductions to the National Social Security Fund and employees' contribution to local authorities, pension trust, and local authorities provident fund, some dating back to 2014-2015 financial year as detailed below. So you have the table there. This is contrary to section 19.
It's important just to read the components and the amounts. Okay. It's not too long.
Okay, you have the component and the amount. First, the component is basic salary, civil service. This is, I think it belongs to SACCOs of 75,778,665. Then you have employer contribution to staff pension scheme of 535,904,297. Then we have employer contributions to National Social Security Fund of 7,650,480. Then we have graduate civil servants and 13,281,987. Thank you, Chair. This was contrary to section 19, subsection 4 of Parliamentary Act Cap 226, which states that an employer who deducts an amount from an employee's remuneration shall pay the amount so deducted in accordance with the time period and other requirements specified in the law, agreement, court order, or arbitration as the case may be. Thank you, Chair.
Governor?
Chair, the county government.
Just because we have jumped a few issues, just point us to the page where you're reading your response from.
Page 23. 24.
Page 23.
24.
24 or 23? Okay, okay. Yeah, you're right.
Different pages. Mr. Chairman, the county government encountered disagreements with the pension schemes regarding interest and penalties.
Sorry, Governor. That's page 25.
Yeah.
Page 25.
Yeah, it says 24 on mine, but.
25?
Yes.
Okay, proceed.
The county government encountered disagreements with the pension schemes regarding interest and penalties, where the penalties were multiple times higher than the principal amounts. The county continues to engage with the relevant authorities to resolve this dispute in a fair and compliant manner. Steps taken, the county government has already cleared, as part of the statutory liabilities, Kenya shillings 109,167,057 due to KRA, and also 7.6 million for NSF contributions will be paid in the next month. Chair, let me explain this a bit.
Yeah, because I want us to deal with this matter comprehensively, beyond your written response.
Yes, Chair, all this first of all relates to the period 18 to 2022.
Even though the auditor says from 2014, 2015, when you are the first governor of Wajir.
If there's any amount relating to that, I want it.
But just proceed. Just proceed. Yeah.
This these payables relate to 25 months of pensions and gratuities not paid under the period 18 to 22. And it's with LAP Trust and LAP Fund. Now, what both schemes did, and it's part of the disagreement we had, they waited to just before the elections to go to court. They allowed the previous regime to get away with it, and just went to court just before. And so by the time we came in, the matter was in court. We agreed on a few things. We agreed, number one, that we will pay our current stat reductions on time. And they can confirm, we can confirm here through the auditors to Senate that we're up to date with respect to the current period. As for the previous period, we have been trying to agree on an out-of-court settlement because these are just the principal sums. When you add the penalties and interests, the figures being asked for are actually double, if not more, than this figure. And given also that we have a huge pending bill to the public, it's become a bit hard to create space in our budget to deal with this at one time. Chair, I'm hoping we've advanced quite a lot with CPF, that we'll have an agreement with them in the next 2 weeks, which includes some waiver of some of the penalties. So that then, even as we speak now, I think we have about 70 million shillings that we budgeted for this year to reduce this amount before 30th of June. And then next year we'll provide a bit more. But Chair, to contextualize this, all this money was actually released by the Controller of Budget, and it was deducted from the employees, but never remitted. I do understand that government is in perpetuity, but the financial architecture of counties is such that money is released monthly. So when the money released in a given month is not appropriated for what it was released for, then it constitutes a a crisis on the system. When it's not done for 24 months, for 25 months, then it creates a hole. And this is why we've had discussions with Treasury, CS level, together with the pension schemes, because it's not a problem only for us. And I keep reminding even governors as COG chair that this should be happening on our watch now, if there's any governor that's doing this on our watch now. To deal with this historical, because it might not be possible to absorb this in one fiscal, to come with an arrangement where Treasury gives some bonds, for instance, to these pension schemes, especially the ones that can't, for instance, give assets. Nairobi might be able to give land, for instance, which is valuable. Mombasa might be able to give land. And then that is amortized over time from the equitable share. Because it's impossible for me to pay $1.5 billion or $1.6 billion in statutory payables only within my term. Because I'm already struggling with my payroll costs. We're opening up new hospitals, we're recruiting new people. The increase in equitable share, you understand what it is. So, especially for counties that do not generate a lot of on-source revenue, once a hole like this is created, there's a problem. And so, Chair, I am ready for any advice on this, but this is my situation with respect to this.
Yeah, I think the reason why I've given you time is that this is a conversation we have had, I think we have had it in a formal sitting, and we have also had it informally. And we have agreed that there needs to be very special focus on this matter. Because if the control of budget, and Gashanja, you'll advise us, had already approved that expenditure, and the money was released, will you approve it again?
No, it can't be approved.
So where will the money come from? That's a crisis now.
Chair, the challenge I have with that argument is, then that argument can also be applied to my other physical pending bills. Because all those were released by the controller, but just applied in other ways. So I have a classroom belt, someone given an LSO, kids in the classroom, money already released, but that person not paid, and I didn't inherit money.
Chair.
Okay.
So let me ask this question again.
Senator Maruma, then Senator Sifuna.
Thank you, Chair. Are you saying that for the existing pending bills, there are projects whose money were released by the control of budget, but that money was voided and paid for other things? Is that what you're saying, number one? Number two, we need to know, maybe exactly, especially for example, employer contribution to staff pensions scheme, 535,904,297. This is principal plus interest. What is the principal? Is it possible to get that information? What is the principal? Number three, Chair, these are employees, whether they are working between 17 and 22, when you're not governor, their money was released. When they retire, when they go for their pensions, they need their pensions. They will not understand that they were not working or their money was released but not released to the pension scheme. So are you saying that there's nothing you can do? And if this money was paid for something different, what steps have you done to make sure that those who did that are brought to book? Because we run governments in perpetuity.
Okay, good one. Those three, please take note. Senator Sifuna.
I think, Chair, for me, the problem is the time that it has taken to have these conversations. Governor, you are in your final year of your term. We have your colleagues who have come here and sat there. They are very junior members of the COG, let alone chairman. But they concluded agreements with CPF years ago, where they waived the penalties and some of the interest, and they agreed on a payment schedule where they're paying monthly or annually. So my disappointment in you, especially as the chair of COG, is that you have people within the COG who have done these agreements, and I believe that conversation is the same. And maybe these are the issues that the COG should take leadership on, not these other things that we see you giving directions to governors. So, for me, Governor Mutula was here. And he had a document they have signed, and it says it should be a template for all the 47 counties. The stories you have told us, unfortunately, are unsupported. And Governor, you have referred us back to that contentious document of yours. My concern is this. You have 113 million in unpaid gratuity for your public servants. And this is a problem for us in the Senate because people who left the service may be retired. They have no time for these stories, especially if I was to share this schedule with them and see how much this hotel called the Grand Oasis. What is it, the name?
Grand Oasis.
Yes. Have you gone back to that schedule? Yeah, Chair, it is a question of priorities. Okay. Yeah, there are people who do not prioritize Mwananchi. If somebody has retired and they are due gratuity, really those are the people who you should prioritize and not catering services, accommodation, gifts, food and drinks from that schedule that I was referencing, which is almost 6 million shillings in tea and mandazi. And you have people who have retired there. They have nothing to eat. So, Governor, it's also a question of priorities. I don't know why you have prioritized KRA because they can freeze your accounts. I suspect that's the reason. But these, yes, these ones from, these ones looking for their gratuity. Where can they find you, Governor?
And you see, okay. The Governor is confessing that the accounts were frozen and you should prioritize them. Now, these are the guys who have nothing against you. What they have no leverage. I mean,
fine. I believe this is a matter that is important not just for Wajir. So we'll do specific cases, but also try to look for a global solution.
Chair, Annex 6. Annex 6. Governor, what did you want to prove with this Annex 6? Because I can see there was a principal amount of 47 million, then there was total accrued interest of 10 million. That was on 10 June 2025. I think it is a payment of 458 million, 137,709.7. That is Annex 6. So is it when the OAG queried about 732 million, 615,329 shillings, is this part of it or it is different? Is 458 trying to offset the 732, or what is the place of this Annex 6 that you are trying to tell us you have paid with the issue of bluff fund? Can we get that distinction, or you are just, and to emphasize, secondly, finally, Chair, is that I thought this issue of statutory deductions, be it KRA, I think, Chair, we had a conversation where we were arguing that if there is late exchequer releases, they should not be penalized by KRA. And I don't know, as the COG Chair, you have had conversation with KRA saying that since there are late exchequer releases, then counties should not and must not be punished over KRA tax penalties. I don't know, as governors, as a governor of Wajir, have you, or as a COG, have ever sat and agree, because it is unfair that counties get late exchequer releases, then they are penalized KRA. So I think, Chair, Governor, if that one has not been on COG agenda, you can put it next time over our names. I think that would be better. I yield back, Chair.
Okay, and Governor, as you respond, I think there's been some conversation that payroll processing, and particularly statutory deductions, be done at the national level. I think there's some conversation about that. And as a Senate, we are concerned that the minute you hand over your payroll to the national government, you have handed over the counties back. But it was for situations like this, where approvals are granted, money is deducted but not remitted. You might also want to comment on that, but start with the issues raised by Senator Mwaruma.
Senator Mwaruma, the 732 is the principal sum. It doesn't include interest and penalties. So whether for gratuity or the 7.6 for NSSF, and that one we I think is being paid now, and this is all for basic, what do you call, principal sums. Number one. Number two.
Sorry, Governor, is that a fact? Because you've got Appendix 6 here, where the principal is far much lower So do we take that the 732 is principal without interest?
Appendix what?
This one, this figure is for only this general, all of them. This is, but this annexes is only for lab fund.
And
So the 732 is principal without interest?
for everyone, both lab fund and
Without interest?
without interest.
Okay.
And that's where I'm headed. Because Senator Cherge asked, what am I trying to prove with that schedule, which has the 47 million and the 410? Senator, it's part of the negotiations we're having, which we can't seem to agree on, because the principal sum, for instance, for lab fund was 47 million, but the interest they were asking for is 410 million. And this matter went to court, and we're in court, and we're saying, for us to be able to prioritize the principal sum, because this was something that was mismanaged, and they also didn't do their part to follow and seek for payments or court process on time, we can't be able to find that money all at one go. That's the point I was trying to make.
Governor, Governor.
Can I just finish?
No, on that point before you get out of it, because it's a conversation we have had. LAP fund is right to demand an interest, because that interest is a return on investment on the pensioners.
Yeah.
So it looks very big, very awkward, but the pensioners also expecting a return on investment on their contributions. So right. you argue against it, then you're arguing against the benefits of your staff. That's a point I wanted to make.
It's a catch-22, Chair, because this money, the controller also has just said that is not going to approve. And by the way, there are even instances where someone was very ill or something and we tried to pay, and the controller said, no, this was released before, I'm not releasing this money again. So that's where we are, and this is why we're trying to, probably with Senate's help, because there are counties that can absorb big amounts like this. There are others where it will distort everything. And if everything worked from audit to, the system and everything, at that time we would be in this situation. I don't want to go there, but this is the reality. What have you done? We agreed, first of all, that we pay on time. We are among the best payers as of today. As for this other matter, we are still negotiating. As I said, even this fiscal year, we have some little money, but we have not reached an agreement on the way forward. We are also engaging on the question of Treasury being able to pay them upfront and try to see if that can be amortized over equitable share for a longer period. So I think I have answered, unless there's a particular question that... so as to the question Senator Sifuna asked, maybe their negotiations were easier. I don't know what their numbers were and for how long, because in my case, we've dug a hole for 25 months. Yeah, so probably if it was less, it's easier to deal with. And probably also they don't have these other huge pending bills on assets verifiable and in use. But I think the contention of the controller, that the controller is not going to release it twice, shouldn't really be there, because they are asking us to pay for the physical assets, and even that was also released and misapplied. So
I think where there was a release, there should not be a further approval.
Governor, can you clarify to me if there's ever been an engagement at COG level with the LAP fund?
Yes, we continue to engage, and even I think at the beginning of this month we have another engagement, I think around the 29th, with the LAP fund. We've just had an engagement with CPF where we met in Kwale, discussing this among other things. There are also issues on their side, Chair, which I shouldn't bring, extraneous issues which I shouldn't bring here. Much as the interest they're asking is high, in this country also there's no law on minimum return to employees. So sometimes also, even in the fund's investment, what the employee gets is very small, much smaller than even the penalties interest. So
because of unremitted contributions.
Because
you only invest what you have.
You cannot fault the employees themselves, governors.
Because not the employees. I'm saying the schemes,
the funds,
the funds in other countries also. So I think, Chair, on this one, I mean, much as I'm in this situation, I am a believer that you cannot deduct somebody's money and not remit it.
Yeah, you know the question that I asked.
Governor, actually that is criminal. If you ask me, it's actually criminal.
Not really been
Oh,
answered.
no, I mean it's theft. You're stealing from. You're actually stealing from yourself and stealing from the employees.
Chair,
Senator Moore.
yeah, the question I asked the governor required some empathy, because if you don't put yourself in the shoes of those people who have retired, you will not prioritize the payment of this money, of gratuity. Some people retire when they are rich. Some retire when they are extremely poor. An ECD teacher retiring, going home, and being told that your money was not remitted, and you know the man has retired and has some kids in college or even in school who require also assistance. Now, if you say that money was remitted, was not remitted but deducted and not remitted, so there's nothing you can do, you're not being empathetic enough.
And in fact, Chair, this is why I was pushing the question of time. Governor, we have all been in these offices now for 4 years. Yeah, I am very happy, by the way. I'm proud of this committee. I told you when we started, Chair, we resolved the question of penalties for KRA for you. Correct. Because whereas you run around, some of you saying that devolution is working, that the national government has done better than previous administrations, you're up to date with the remittances. It is not true. In private, you come and cry to us that, oh, we are behind 3 months, 2 months remittance. And when we had that conversation...
I don't know that you've paid May salaries. Have you paid May salaries?
He has said himself we are behind 2 months.
Yes.
His salaries, yes.
May. You have paid May.
Yes.
You have received your disbursements for May.
Not yet, but I've paid.
Okay. you see, Senator Sifuna.
Regardless of whether receipts are received or not, I have I pay somewhat my salaries on time.
So
including the statutory reduction.
So my point was, those people who are watching us at home, who Senator Mwaruma has described, Governor, in this city, I don't know about Wajir. In this city, if you are unable to pay your rent, they come and lock the door. So you imagine, just 1 month's rent, they remove the mabati from the house and you have to go. Now, you are telling these pensioners that it's an ongoing conversation. 4 years into our term, we're actually going into elections. We've actually started campaigns. I personally have started campaigns. So, what assurance can we give?
Point of order, Elections Act is very clear on campaign period. So, Senator Sifuna, you might be careful.
Yeah, come and arrest
because
me.
you normally argue.
You know where to find him.
You know where to find me.
Okay. There's no problem.
I have already announced my next rally. You can send them there.
Okay.
But Governor, the point I was making is this, that empathy that he spoke about requires that we expedite these processes. If these other pensions have been able to find agreements with some of your colleagues in the council, just get one meeting and agree with these people. What is the way forward? Withdraw those matters from, because the people are suffering, and that was the point.
Actually, on that bit of empathy, Governor, when you left office in 2017, were you and the team you exited with paid your gratuities?
100%.
100%.
Yes. In fact, I needed it. I went and collected my gratuity.
In 2023, the last elections were 2023. 2022, when you returned to office, was the governor and those who were in office in that period, have they been paid their gratuities?
Not yet. And actually...
Why?
And tried to pay, and the controller did not approve, because some of them, I don't want to say who, were in pretty bad situation, and out of empathy, I tried to pay, and the controller said, no, you can't. And Senator Marua, I am the one who's actually arguing.
Maruma, so what would be the challenge? Because you were paid promptly.
Somebody's right. Why would the governor be using empathy to
that
pay?
response is also very suspicious. It's like, I decided, then I said, no, we're not.
No, if he was paid
And Chair, I
No, we
thought
requested, the request was not approved
Chair,
because for
I thought
gratuity.
statutory deductions or employees' issues or statutory deductions are somebody's right. It doesn't depend on empathy. So why is the governor saying empathy?
So, Governor,
and we know very well he didn't leave office. He went for election petition in 2022. So what does he mean? And yet the previous administration paid him on time, but he doesn't want to pay. So the question is, what is the reasoning behind it?
Let me clarify that.
Yes,
Let
Governor.
me clarify. First, it's not the previous administration that paid me on time.
You paid yourself.
No. Please just let me explain.
Yeah, please explain.
Because both our pensions and our gratuity were with the fund administrators in my time. I made sure that I remitted the funds to the fund administrators. I did not have to talk to my successor to get my money. I walked over to CPF and I collected my money because my administration rather had been remitting. Now, here we have a situation where the administration that was in office was not remitting the funds for 25 months, not remit funds for 25 months to the fund administrators.
But deducted.
And Senator Mwarua, why I was clarifying this, it is not me who was saying it's not payable. It's the controller you had saying, once you have remitted this, you can't do it again. The challenge on my side was to sign off on an agreement. Senator and Sifuna, I want to assure you that someone will agree. And before I leave office, I can't clear this amount, but some chunk will be paid to both CPF and lab fund. But what I'm saying is, because ideally, everybody is with one of the two, either lab fund or CPF. If administrations were disciplined to remit timeously, then this situation should not obtain. That's all I'm saying.
Should therefore the deductions be done at the national level? Because you have a crisis here. You have 5 years of discipline, 5 years of alleged indiscipline. How do we ensure that this matter is sorted out? Because, and I think the controller is right, the money was released. It was diverted to some other purposes. You must find a way of funding that expenditure, perhaps even with interest. So going forward, are we seeing a situation where we are saying county governments have become so indisciplined that they must be supervised by the National Treasury on deductions?
Chair.
The response to that, Governor, just clarify whether that 25 months of non-remittance is for all the employees, including for the governor himself.
Chair, as I said, the Wajir case is probably, with respect to the pending bill situation, was the worst of all worlds. There are also other counties, governors who, when they came into office, inherited as little as 15 million shillings or 50 million shillings of pending bills. So whether we should change the law just because of a few bad situations, I think that that's a matter for all of us, not only for me, because the architecture does not allow currently the setup of the PFM architecture a mechanism for national government to deduct money at source without first hitting the CRF.
Well, they did it with MES, you remember?
Right. At MES, it was a book entry in a sense. You know, they were like saying they allocated us X as conditional grant, but it wasn't really part of the equitable share in a sense. So it was like a donation. We've made a donation to you, and you know we're keeping it up in the air. Sort of, that was what it was, how I understood it. But there is no mechanism really for that to happen, for Treasury to decide we're not remitting a part of your equitable share. One thing that has now happened in the last, I think, 1 month, from April, which is a plus and a minus at the same time, is that the payroll is not being handled through IFMIS, right? The HRS, the Integrated Human Resource System, is now been integrated with, the module has been integrated with IFMIS. So salaries have to be paid through IFMIS just like everything else, individually to the employee. The downside of that is when, as Senator Sifuna says, there are delays in disbursements and releases, then the utilization of the soft banking arrangements that some counties use to pay salary becomes difficult, because the banks can't be the ones paying the employees' money through IFMIS. IFMIS only accepts, it's only integrated to the county operational and development account. So it becomes more difficult actually to get banking help, right? So as to the question of how this is handled, I think, Chair, it's a question of the control environment. It's a question of also timely audits and timely oversight and timely action, I think. Because if we were to go the route of deducting that at the source, remember, even the pending bills that I'm being crucified about here have to do with money that has actually left the CRF account, has been released by the controller, but was misapplied, or there was an over budgeting of expenditure above the budget. Because if there is no mechanism for county governments to be in deficit, county governments must stick to their budget. And if there are overshots because of a disaster or something, then that should be something that can be managed within the next budget or something like that. If a disaster happens or something. But it shouldn't be something that cannot be absorbed by the next regime. Because when you have 7 billion or 5 billion of pending bills and all the money was released and utilized, I think, Senator Moro, you also have to be a bit empathetic with me.
Well, and all these are offenses committed by the team that you lead. Honorable members, how do we get away out of this? Because all these are instances of poor financial management in counties. There's a specific case of Wajir, but it cuts across. Now, there has to be a solution. So Wajir, the first 5 years are doing the right thing. The second 5 years, they're doing the wrong thing. The next 5 years, they're doing the right thing. The next 5 years, you don't know what's going to happen. You've got employees. They are looking at the Senate and all these institutions to come up with a solution. I am not hearing a solution. I am hearing a detailed description of the problem.
I think for me, Chair, there should be certain consequences. I think where we are failing as a nation is the consequence part. How is it conscionable for you to preside over an administration that deducts money from employees? Don't remit, then you tell us you also don't have a solution. Even criminal sanctions should follow such people. I mean, it's unconscionable. They come to our offices here, Chair, at KICC, and they are in bad shape. They come to cry in our offices, and we can't just say there's nothing to do. I think there should be criminal consequences for CEOs who do that you deduct money and you don't remit. And then the COB says they can't release twice. I mean, those are the conversations we should be having, Governor, at COG level, at the Senate level. And we're willing and ready to help. For as long as you don't see us enemies. We can sit and talk about these things. But for me, I think there should be some level of responsibility, criminal responsibility for people who are doing these things.
Senator Chirarke?
Maybe, Chair, I agree with the Nairobi Senator that if this money was released and the governor has described in detail what happened and also the reluctance of COB, which we agree with, not to release money that had already should have been remitted. This was a pure theft. And I think, in my own opinion, certain consequences, including investigations and prosecution, and I'm happy, I don't know whether ESCC are here with us, I think anybody found culpable, then and now, because the Constitution under Article 2265 is very clear that you should be held accountable while or even after you leave office. So there is no expiry or reflection of criminal liability if somebody took the people's money, the staff of Wajir. And Governor, we cannot be sympathetic with you because you already received your gratuity in them. So sympathy will not be there today.
Yeah.
So what I'm just saying in simple, Governor, and we agree with you largely, is let anybody, including your staff who are here, who might have participated in this well-orchestrated criminal enterprise of stealing from the employees, they must be investigated and prosecuted. I think EACC is normally with us. They just pick it up so that as we pursue for a resolution on this matter, somebody in this country, Chair, we should punish the issue of corruption to be as rare as a snowball in hell, so that somebody cannot walk into a public office, steal, get away with it, go to Santorini and enjoy their lives as if nothing is happening, Mr. Speaker. I know Senator Sifuna does not know where Santorini is, but I will share with him. It's one of the exotic places.
Okay, members, looking at the time, we just have 20 minutes, so let's be conscious. Senator Wangua.
So, Chair, on the same note, you know, Governor, the truth of the matter is the people of Wajir, especially those who have already retired, they are out of the payroll, definitely are expecting that because you are appearing today, there will be a solution or a way forward to their issues. It's easy to say it wasn't me. It's an easy thing to say, but you know, for that mama, for that old man who worked tirelessly to make Wajir County what it is today, and they are at home now with nothing, and the only thing we can do here is to say their former governor did not remit their deductions for 25 months. They already know that. What hope, what exactly is it that your government is doing to ensure that those people, in a way, you reduce their suffering? It's first of all, you agree with me, it's criminal. It's really a very bad thing for a governor to deduct money from employees and not remit. It's a criminal act. So what exactly are you doing before the EACC comes for you or for whoever it is that they have to come for? What exactly are you doing about those people?
Chair, you know, I'm not an accountant, but is it not possible to know if some money came, like 200 million, a receipt from Treasury for paying salaries, plus gratuity and everything? If the salaries were paid at net and the remittances were not made, is it not possible to know where that money went to and who misappropriated? I think it's possible to know. Because then if you have received money this month and you've paid the employees and the money that is deducted, say 20 million, was not remitted, we should know where that money went to and the person who misappropriated that money. And number two, Chair, we should be able as an oversight body to direct the county to pay this money. First of all, any payable should serve as a first charge, as a priority charge on any receipt. Why can't we direct that this also happens for this money?
Yeah, Governor, I think you have seen the mood of the Senate, that these are issues that we want to engage on positively because they impact on the lives of the very people we rely on for service delivery. Having described the problem, what do you put as the action you're going to take individually as a governor of Wajir and broadly as the leader of the team of governors?
Chair, that it's a criminal offense. Everything we have discussed here with respect to pending bills is a criminal offense. Because not only for the statutory, I keep repeating, even for those classrooms that people are threatening to close, the money was released, not applied appropriately. And it's easy to blame the governors, but even the governor himself, his gratuity was not paid. So this is, and of course, the tone at the top and everything is important, but I think there were officers who are in these roles, in HR, in finance, in procurement, who ought to have known better. And all these reports are everywhere. They are with the Senate, they are with ESCC, they are all over. I mean, there's nothing confidential about them. That's one. Two, so it's budget indiscipline, Senator Wambua. It's budget indiscipline. You know, people are just issuing LSOs left, right, and center. They committed more than they budgeted for. Some were done, some weren't done, right? There even some that were paid which weren't done. All these is in all these reports, you know, and as I've said, I've given copies of all these reports to Senate, to ESC, to everybody. What am I going to do? Yes, probably I accept you could have, you know, agreed to something much earlier, but they gave us hope, the schemes, that they were willing to, because we are now compliant and we are among the better payers, timely payers, they were going to look at you know, interest and penalty waiver. So we'll fast track that process and start paying. We'll put something substantial for the coming year's budget, but also have an agreement that's legal that binds the next regime to also pay, number one. Number two, we're also making the effort that I've said, because it's not only us, it's many counties, and the damage is already done, and there's no mechanism for bailout for counties when things are messed up, to see whether Treasury can get into some Treasury bonds or something. I know this has happened before with respect to the sugar industry and people like that for, you know, government guaranteed debts, and then take a guarantee against the equitable share or something. So those are conversations I'm willing to have. But with respect to Wajir, all I can do is speed up agreement, see whether, because it's also, when this mess happened on the watch of everybody, Chair, it's not also fair to punish the current regime to pay 410 million in interest against a 47 million principal, you know, I mean, and we also have to provide services, you know, in all areas and meet current commitments. So it's a challenge, but I'll get an agreement, pay something substantial, and then commit the next regime. That's what I promised the Senate. Thank you.
Okay, Auditor General, please check in the 25-26 audit whether this problem is recurring. Because the governor said that the problem, he has fixed it, save for historical matters. So you'll give us an assurance that statutory deductions, be they pensions, KRA, SHA, NSSF, SACCOs, insurance premiums, etc. I think if this is a matter that recurs, then we should define it as a persistent material breach of the PFM. And we must call the National Treasury and ask the National Treasury why they should not invoke Article 225 on stoppage of funds. Not just for Wajir, but for all counties. This is the true definition of persistent material breach of the law. Colleagues have talked about criminal sanctions, but restitution must also follow, because it's not enough to jail someone who stole your money and then you remain there looking poor. So I think we'll make those recommendations, but the critical thing is to ensure that this is not recurring. We have quite a number of matters to discuss, but time is limited. We had already gone through this report earlier. There are a few issues where we can take the written responses, but there are few paint as a disturbing picture of the entity. For example, the Auditor General has queried excessive drivers in Wajir. And the Auditor General says you have 149 vehicles and 216 drivers. So I don't know whether they are drivers or turn boys. But when you look at that from a perspective of prudence, so actually there are two paragraphs. There's a paragraph on unserviceable motor vehicles and equipment. Says that 90 vehicles are grounded and unserviceable. Then when you go further in the report, issue number 19 on page 11 of the certificate, you've got a finding on excessive drivers. So these are the little leakages that will sink the ship. Governor, what's your comment? Just broadly speaking, without necessarily reading the response. 216 drivers for 149 vehicles, out of which 90 are grounded.
Chair, I think we cleared that with the auditor and we proved to them that the drivers, much as could have been slightly fewer, were necessary because we ran ambulances. Just now we're getting 10 new ambulances. We got 10 new vehicles also, but we ran ambulances, and because of our terrain and the referral system, because we're talking of a distance of 57,000 square kilometers, in which the sub-county hospitals sometimes can be, we have dispensaries, we have, and health centers, but to find a place where there's a doctor who can do surgery, they're quite apart. So these doctors work on, these drivers work on shift, and sometimes it's necessary to have more than one driver for ambulances, for water bowsers, because during the drought we run a 24-hour emergency. So we actually run 3 shifts to deliver water to the farthest points where the livestock will have moved to. So considering everything, we are not that off given the numbers that we need because of the ambulatory service system and the water bowsers and the emergency nature of our county operations.
You don't see a redundancy. You find it is justifiable because
yes.
You have cited the health sector and maybe the water sector, but does that account for the full picture?
And also for the new fleet, because we are replacing our old fleet. We bought new vehicles. We're getting 10 new ambulances, and we already have, I think, 11 new vehicles. So taken together, Chair, because in certain instances we actually need 2 or 3 drivers for a vehicle, like the water bowsers. I think we're not that off, but we have frozen the employment of new drivers. In fact, there were more. So what we did at the beginning of this term, we pushed some of them to enforcement. We pushed some, the ones that could fit, into transfer them where they could be used. But it's not as bad as it looks given our emergency nature of operations.
So, Auditor General, you'll help us analyze the employee costs. You have reported it was at 37%, which is just about 2% above the threshold. But beyond the percentage, is it growing in absolute terms? Because the year here was 4.1 billion. Did it grow from prior year?
I think it reduced. Previously it was 43.
It was 4.3.
43%.
It was at 43%.
Yes.
Sometimes that percentage is high because of a delay in disbursements. So what's the actual sum?
For the year in question, it reduced to that 7.
No. I'm saying percentages.
Yes.
Are sometimes the base is not complete. Okay. You might find that there was a delayed remittance which was not reported in that year, and so the percentage looks different. They spent 4.1 billion in 2024-2025. Are you able to check how much they spent in prior year in actual shillings, not percentage?
Maybe given time I can check that.
Okay, you can interrogate that so that even when you are congratulating the governor for being at 37%, the percentage should not mask the actual growth in expenditure. Senator Murumu?
Yeah, I quite agree with you, because if we are to reduce by like 5%, that is quite high. When maybe the contract of some particular cadre of individual employees, the contract has not ended suddenly. It really should strike your mind why that percentage has reduced drastically by 5%. Sometimes it reduces because of increase in revenue. That is the shareable revenue. But is that what has happened here? We need just really to know.
Okay.
And then also, have you audited the other cadres of employees, or is it just drivers who are redundant? Because this is just redundancy. Wajir could be very rich. That in the year ending June 2025, you had already employed drivers for a fleet of vehicles that even up to now, 2026 June, has not arrived. You know, try to take redundancies also around other sectors.
Governor, maybe just as a question, maybe, I don't know whether you have the information, and it's a very quick one. At the time you are leaving office in 2017, what was the figure? What was the wage bill? At the time, no, maybe just in a global amount.
The wage bill was around 210 million, I think, at that time.
A month?
Per month, yeah.
So that was 2 billion?
Yeah.
2.5 billion?
Yeah.
And now it is 4 billion?
Yes.
What do you, and what percentage was it of your total revenues back then?
I think at that time we were doing well. We were almost doing 50-50 between development and recurrent. Yeah, almost
so it was much less than 30%?
Probably wage bill was much less than even 30%, because the whole recurrent was about 50% use of goods and everything.
So this growth, is it normal? If you look at it, assuming you're just looking at it from an accountant's perspective, shouldn't it be something to worry about?
Yes, I think it was both organic, but also a lot of what do you call top-heavy employment was done. You know, because the number of directors that I came back to was much higher than what I left, and but also organic in the sense that since then and now, the number of facilities and things like that have also changed. One of the contributors to this was the water company, which I know is being done under the investments team, committee. We actually tried to fire people from the water, reduce the numbers from as much as 500 something to 200 and how many? To 258 thereabout, and went through some strenuous court process and had to pay some of them some out of court settlement just to whatever. So, Chair, also when people get into the payroll, it's not that easy to remove, because also our labor courts are pretty much on the employee side. So, for now, the new recruitments are largely on need basis and in the area of health and ECD.
Okay, you have already breached the 35. 5 years ago, you were below 30. Yeah. It means that there is a problem, whether it's organic or whether it's all those factors you have cited. Auditor General, you did a payroll audit for all the counties. I expect that in this financial year, where you are going to start your audit, that issue of HR needs to come up. On HR, we keep talking of ethnicity, persons with disability, 1/3 salary rule, which is neither here nor there. But a growth of from 2 billion to 4 billion in a span of 5 years, offering the same services, is questionable. So please query that. I think we can deal with
Chair,
two things.
actually, I think let him do also a trend analysis, because we actually reduced. Much as we were recruiting some people for health, we also got rid of 106 people, health workers, who were on the payroll but not around. We chased away people with fake degrees and fake documents. So we reduced and used that space to try and recruit. Last year alone, I think we recruited 212 new nurses because of the new facilities. Now we've moved to a level 5. That new level 5 alone requires at least another 100 nurses for the new services. So it's both ways. But I want to assure you that on my watch, we will not recruit anyone we don't need. We will try to act with the 35%. We will not commit any procurement for which we have no money. And anything that we are unable to pay by the time we are leaving office, which was committed on our watch, we will tie the funds in the bank balance to the actual ongoing projects. As for the pending bills, we'll continue to chip in to the best of our ability through payment, and we'll find a solution for the statutory payables by paying what we can and committing the next government to an arrangement. I commit to that. So,
I think that's fair.
I think
looking at the time, Senator, because of the time, let's
maybe on the on-source revenue, Governor, how much are you collecting? And what is your revenue potential?
Last year we collected 355. Up from 36 when we came in. The last year we came in, it was 36. How much? 329 is what we collected last year.
What is your revenue potential? According to CRA?
CRA puts that at about, I don't know how much? 600, maybe even slightly more. But
maybe, Chair, our fiscal analyst, is he here today? How much is the revenue potential? Just because it's tied up with the issue.
I can't remember the exact figure, but yeah.
Okay, you guys can check, but we've got the breakdown of the revenue performance. Out of 355 million, 258 came from hospitals. So largely it's driven by the hospital or the health sector. In the remaining 2 minutes, quick question, your KIPES is worth 600 million,
yes,
whereas all the KIPES are worth 500 million. What's the background to that?
No, it's not all the KIPES that are worth 500 million. 500 million was the figure that was agreed that national government pays 250 and county pays 250. There are counties that actually have been able to commit to slightly lower than that, especially the ones around Nairobi. Ours, it was an open bid, and it's what people quoted. And because the cement comes from here, the stones come from Thika, so contractors it will cost us slightly more to construct than. I remember one of my colleagues, when he did the bid, his was, because he's a bit further from me, his was bidded at 800 something, and he said he can't afford it, he didn't do it. In my case, I felt that was cheaper to do today because of construction inflation than to do it tomorrow. So that was the lowest bid at 603.
What's your percentage completion?
100% complete. We are working with trade. We've been promised some money for what do you call common user facility, but the cold rooms are working and everything is working. We're going out to tender to see what investors to come and use. It's 100% complete.
Okay, finally, what is the state of exchequer releases? I know that there was a query on exchequer release. It's really a national treasury problem,
yes,
but you could paint the picture for us in terms of Wajir and maybe even for the rest of the counties, because we have 2 weeks to close of financial year.
Yeah.
We saw here another county that received 4.5 billion shillings on the 1st of July, and they had to spend it within a day. Now you imagine how complicated that would be to spend 4.5 billion within the 14-day window. So what's the status in Wajir and globally?
In Wajir and globally, Chair, released and by Treasury is up to April. So on 15th of June, I sent out a letter to CS Mbadi on the status of disbursement of county equitable share, and what's outstanding to be received is 35.2 billion for May and 33.2 billion for June, 68.475. And the purpose of the letter was to request his office to urgently disburse 68.475 owed to counties for the months of May and June, and also hope that the system doesn't shut immediately on 30th of June to allow what is on the platforms to be paid. And it's usually a ritual we usually have at the cut-off month to allow to be paid. But yes, everyone has received up to April, May and June, not yet. I am hoping that will be released this week here.
Senator Sifuna?
I mean, Chair, because he has answered that question as Chair of the COG, I also have one as COG Chair. Governor, you have heard those trumpets outside. Have you heard the trumpets outside, Governor? You know, there's a...
Senator,
just now, when we were in this meeting. Have you
Oh, the
heard any-
trumpets. Oh, okay,
Yes.
the noises.
You know,
I
there's
didn't
a
know they're
surah-
trumpets, but
Yes, there's a surah in the Quran that talks about trumpets. And I think it says they'll be blown twice. The first one is for all of us to fall dead except the ones who Allah wills to remain. And the second one is for the resurrection.
Senator, you can take the shahada now that you know that.
Oh, just a minute. There's something. There's somewhere I'm going. Those trumpets, for us, we hear them every day, and they are from the Universal Health Coverage team. I would be remiss if I did not use this opportunity for you, as a Council of Governor Chair, to clear this controversy for us, because we feel bad that these workers are in the streets every day and blowing those trumpets that you heard. We have passed Dora, we have passed Kara, we have passed, I think, we have done the county government additional allocation. Governor, we have provided for money through the additional allocation for the absorption of these workers on permanent and pensionable. But they are here because they can hear some of your members saying that because this money is being channeled through the Additional Allocation Act, that they cannot absorb them on permanent and pensionable. I want you to tell us why this is not possible, because the money is there, it is assured, and it will be passed by successive senates every single year. Why can't you absorb these young people on permanent and pensionable, so that we all wait for only those two trumpets that we have referenced, Governor?
Okay, Senator.
Chair, can I add just one quick, small, I ride on Senator Sifuna's issue of UHC. It has been a problem. I think maybe a number of you are lucky. I have received 1,000+ messages on WhatsApp and SMSs. We have seen the president speaking to it in Kajiado. Governor, what was the agreement between the CS of Health and you as a COG? Because it looks like at the ping pong game, we saw your chair of finance and budget going on record that out of 8.9 billion, they are not absorbed to PNP. And these are UHC staff that served us in 2020, when even soldiers in barracks could not come out to fight COVID. Don't you think it is unfair? For 6 years, they have been on contract. And I think, Chair, just in conclusion, these are people who are experienced. You don't need to keep them on probation. They can run our health facilities. And we should avoid, our worries through the chair is, we should not allow these people to be left hanging, because health is a devolved function as per the 4th schedule. So as a chair COG, and what is the position so that we can finish this thing once and for all for the betterment? I yield back.
Just to add one thing, and I don't know if that is what is happening in Wajir. In my county, these people have worked for 5 years. Now the contracts are over. Now, when my county government is employing, they don't absorb those. When there's new employment, those are left out. Is that the same situation in Wajir? And so when would they be absorbed?
Governor? And as you respond, the quorum bell is ringing in the House, so make it a brief one.
Chair, as we sit here this morning, I approved a letter, I wrote a letter rather to the CS for National Treasury, which probably should, for the CS for Health, Adendwale, which should hopefully reach him before the close of business today, about UHC. Because the agreement that we had was to keep these people in perpetuity. That allocation moves to bump up, increase the equitable share, so that it's there in the base of equitable share in perpetuity. And we're doing this, and actually that position also, we argued it at summit and agreed. So there's actually a summit decision to that effect. We even have letters from the minister to that effect, that please, going forward, we will increase, we will jointly fight for this money and increase as equitable share. The challenge governors have is that if we just go the conditional grant way, in the past there has been indiscipline by National Treasury in releasing conditional grants as approved. What is appropriated is not what it have been disbursed, and there has been no mechanism to ensure that there's a follow-through. You know, for equitable share, even where the year closed with some balances, it's been paid in July before we got into the releases for the next fiscal. And for last year, I think everything was released by 30th of June. So, Senator, what I'm saying is, counties don't want to get tied up to an arrangement which they're not sure the money will come year on year. And this has been the argument. And so we're seeing the credible premise that was made that equitable share will include a specific amount to entrench the pay for UHC has not been done. And the risk also is one of gratuity, because we want to cut off from the old arrangement, and then now these people are absorbed on a permanent basis, and that the ministry deals with the issues that might arise as a result of gratuity. The ministry still wants to do what it is doing, which is provide money for the next 1 year. And there's no assurance that that money will be there in perpetuity. So we have no problem employing these people on a permanent basis. We are on their side. All we're saying is the credible promises which has been made. And why do you say this? Because in the past, there were also agreements that we entered in with the Ministry of Health on CBS, which monies didn't come.
Yeah, but Governor, just before I leave chair, money is money. Yeah, money is money. The Senate has fought for an additional 13 billion, is it?
Yeah.
For this financial year. Why don't you use that one? And the Senate will still be there. In fact, if we had gotten the 454 that we were promised, 450 we were promised by UDA, it would have been different. But unfortunately, Governor, money is money. If we have given you an extra 13 billion,
you should just say government. It's
order.
It's a broad-based government, isn't it so, Governor?
Yeah, because
Governor, it's a broad-based government.
No, and that does not
let's stop defining government. Let's go back to
but Chair, you
the
are
concept.
a member of a broad-based government.
Chair, my support for broad-based government does not preclude my ability to disagree with them on certain things. So on this one, we've been given the money for 1 year, we'll keep them for 1 year. You want us to keep them in perpetuity?
You have not answered me on the 13 billion.
No, I think, honorable members, because of time, what the governor is struggling to explain simply brings us to the conclusion that we are treating our workers very badly. We have seen it with pensions, we have seen it with gratuities, we have seen it also with this particular matter on UHC staff. That's a very unfortunate conclusion to this session.
PNP. We have added 13 billion from 415 billion to 428 billion. Why do they use this 13 billion? Nandi is getting almost 300 million additional from last year. Why don't they do PNP?
Because this obsession of ring-fencing and yet you can allocate budgets is a problem.
But
Senator Ambu, I know you have a statement, so make it short.
I want to go and make some statement on the floor. But you see, Chair, that conversation, Governor, needs to happen.
Yes.
And this is not idle talk. The counties, the 47 counties, have an additional 13 billion Kenya shillings. You need 8 billion for onboarding UHE staff on permanent and pensionable. You know, Chair, there's this challenge that we're having with our counties where other things are important, but employees, we are still fighting. Fighting for what? There is already money. Use that money now on board the UHC. And Chair, you are saying about some counties that have received an additional, I don't know what. Cherargei, your county has received additional amount of money. They also received an additional 371 million Kenya shillings as affirmative action money. The same money was received by Taveta. That is excluding the additional equitable share for this financial year. Surely, if people are serious about their employees, there is an opportunity to onboard those people and deal with the tea and mandazis later. I mean, that can happen later after you have onboarded your employees.
And Chair, as I had said, these people are needed. The nurses are needed. That's why you've indicated that you want to employ 200 nurses this financial year. Taita Taveta has been employing but ignoring the UHC staff. It is bad. Why don't you within then Council of Governors pass a policy that they should absorb the UHC staff first before any other employment?
In fact, members, our failure as a Senate is that we are not very robust when it comes to budget implementation review. The control of budget generates those reports. We must be in that space, not necessarily to do the budgets the way the county assemblies do, but implementation review.
A thought has come to me. Let me just dispense with it and then I leave. Why can't the COG, if you are serious, because I'm not very sure you are, if the COG is serious, why can they cause a tripartite between themselves, the Senate, and perhaps the controller of budget or the treasury, and we deal with this matter of UHC once and for all? If they are serious about it, well, why can't we have that conversation and deal with it?
Yes. Okay, members, let's
the governor,
we are going to
just 1 minute, Chair. From your argument, Governor, you look like you are helpless because you can precipitate this crisis to ensure that these issues have been resolved. Because I thought by the time they submit that you engage and resolve this matter, these 7,400 UHC should have been observed.
So, like in research, they usually say areas for further research. These are areas for further engagement. Yeah. We will offend the rules of the House if we go beyond the time. And so we will pause at this point. The issues that have not been addressed, we'll consider whether the written responses are adequate or if there is need for another meeting. I'll allow the governor to make his closing remarks and then the senators, if any, if there's need for closing remarks. Governor.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, I am ready for that tripartite discussion. It can be done even through the Health Committee of Senate, because as I said, there was a credible promise that this will be factored in the equitable share for perpetuity. And as to the increase, every county is in its own situation. But it's a conversation we're willing to have. If the intention was to have this money in perpetuity, it shouldn't really be an issue to increase equitable share for this year and to ensure that it's a base for next year. But let's have that conversation. We have no problem with our staff and we want the best for them. Chair, having said that, I think it was a fairly, it's a very good meeting. And on the issues with respect to the payables, we'll get back to the Senate with clarity. In spite of everything that we've said about whether money that has been released once can be released again, because as I want to make it on record that whatever we're talking about as historical all relates to money that has already been released by the controller. And as for the other items that we weren't able to cover, whatever other further information and explanations that you require, we are ready. On a last note, Chair, I just want to assure you that if we are a non-going concern, it's not because of what I'm doing, it's because of what have happened, and it wouldn't be a non-going concern, as my brother Serta Cherge always calls me, on my watch. That's on a light note. The Senator, you don't have to respond.
You know, the minute you mention Cherarge's name, he will demand a right of reply. So, Senator Cherarge, 1 minute to reply.
No, I didn't want to reply. It's Governor. I just wanted to exit. I don't know why he was mentioning me.
So now you have the mic, just 1 minute, and then yes, I'll donate my time to Senator Nairobi for the closing remarks.
I hope not injection. So, Chair, maybe what I can say is that I request that we have a further meeting. Especially, I have seen in the previous financial year there was the issue of project implementation status. The way the governor did supersonic finish on KIPES, I would have wished to look at other projects that the county is incurring. I think if the governor can settle that, And then, Governor, you should either apologize now or look for a way to apologize, because you mentioned some of us, and we don't want, some of us are going for bigger seats, and including Sifuna.
Senator Cherargei, you are forgetting that you're supposed to substantiate on a matter on the floor, and we need to go and support you. So,
I am either, even, or all of us who are believers, either as Muslims or Christians, there is a place for apology.
Yes.
So, Governor, find it in your heart to apologize so that it does not ferment for long. I yield back, Chair.
And the reason I bring that is we had a conversation in the House that allegations were made in public and apologies were made in private.
Correct.
So the public record still stands.
Yes.
And that's why in our rules of procedure, we must ensure that if you have to substantiate something, it is substantiated in public.
Correct.
So that it is also captured on the record. But that's beside the point. We are going to prosecute that on the floor this afternoon. Senator Nairobi.
Chair, I want to assure the governor that personally I'm not looking for an apology from you. Where I come from in the school of politics that I've gone through, I was told that you have to grow a thick skin. People will call you names. So you can apologize to Cherargei and the others, but leave me out. I want you to carry a message of hope to the Council of Governors that in less than 14 months, there's going to be an administration that cares about devolution. And the promises that were made to our boss, you know who I'm talking about, we will implement. Thank you.
We on the Sifuna, the meeting is adjourned.
Okay, Chair, do I have a right of response to that one? Or?
No, the meeting is adjourned.